We're not going to see world-class keeper like Donnarumma. Still hasn't been to a World Cup, you know, and he's been in that Italy side for...
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan van range. Scoring a winning hat-trick of performance, payload and price. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With your headlines, at just gone 10 a.m, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good morning. After a warning from Tuchel that Phil Foden isn't guaranteed a place in England's World Cup squad, Ali McCoist doesn't think he'll get the chance to play his way back into contention.
If City were about 7 or 8 and even 9 points clear, then I think Pep would probably help him out and give him more game time. But because they're chasing and because they've got a massive game in the Cup against Liverpool at the weekend, I'm not sure. I'm with you. I don't think he'll get an awful lot of game.
Whoever's selected every game of this World Cup will be live on talkSPORT over the summer. Now, Chelsea boss Sonia Bonpastor is calling on UEFA to improve the level of Champions League refereeing. Why the VAR is not checking that situation? Why are they not going back to that, just checking and having a clear call on that? A fuming Bonpastor was sent off in the closing stages of Chelsea's quarter-final defeat to Arsenal as Katie McCabe's hair pull on Alyssa Thompson went unpunished. Four-time major winner Dame Laura Davis is questioned why her hero Tiger Woods has to keep on driving.
That's the only thing I'd question, but the pain side of it, I cannot even imagine the pain the man's in. So I'm so pleased to hear that. Sounds like he's really addressing it now, and he's going to go away for a while, and he's going to get things sorted.
Woods has decided not to captain USA at next year's Ryder Cup. He's taking a break to sort himself out following Friday's car crash. And Tony Bellew's told talkSPORT the perfect next fight for Moses Itauma as he tunes up for a world title is Andy Ruiz.
Purely based on the fact that he's the one who's durable, but he throws hard punches back, and we've seen he can throw a shock punch in now every now and again, as we've seen with the Josh fight.
More on Itauma's incredible rise on talkSPORT's boxing YouTube channel.
talkSPORT News.
Tim Davies sees out his last day as the BBC's Director General as the Scott Mills controversy continues, and the UK recorded a record jump in the price of fuel last month. Amelia's back at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. The season's changing, so get your car's shim pads and studs checked for spring with a free vehicle safety check. Book in centre or at quickfit.com today.
In the southeast, that drizzle is clearing, mostly dry elsewhere with sunny spells, cloud and rain spreading to the northwest. Later, average temperatures.
Good morning, everybody. You're listening to Jim White and Simon Jordan. We're live on talkSPORT. So another record spend from Premier League clubs on agent fees. Despite the predictable outrage, are agents simply a case of can't live with them, can't live without them? Meanwhile, as Lamine Yamal hits out at the Spanish, how brave is it to call out fans of your own country? Also today, did Simon misrepresent Deontay Wilder? Should pulling hair be viewed as the same as a studs up challenge? Defoe lands in the National League. Is your first management job simply pot luck? And from midday, we talk boxing with fight pundit Spencer Oliver. Jim White, Simon Jordan, live on talkSPORT.
100% engagement.
Jim White and Simon Jordan on talkSPORT.
So, did you watch Artemis 2?
I did.
Being launched into the skies?
I did. I watched it go through all its various system checks and have it delayed and watched it and found it moderately interesting. But what I found interesting was all the reasons why these things are done. Because it looks like, on prima facie, for the ignoramus, which includes me and you, yes, what an enormous amount of money to spend on something that seems to have no material benefits.
Right.
But then you look at the fact that when you look at previous expeditions, they discovered MRI technology and all this kind of stuff that has advanced medicine and other aspects of technology over the years.
Oh, I see.
So that's the reasons why I became a little bit more engaged with the premise of why it's so valuable.
Yeah, see, I look at it, you know, in more of a kind of brief way, sketchy way. They're going to the moon, but they're not landing on it.
No,
they're just going round it.
Going to the far side of the moon.
The far side, and then coming back. What's the point of that? If you're up there, why not landing it? I know they've done it before.
I don't know. Maybe this particular technology is only built to tour. Yes, and that's like that film, isn't it? What was it? Space 2000, was it? An Odyssey. Was that the one that was created in the studio?
Yeah.
Look, who
knows?
Technology, investment. Listen, we look at it because we are lay people, and I'm trying to work out in the most broadest of terms, why is it being done? There must be reasons behind doing it because major countries are doing it.
Yes.
And the Americans will always want to be at the front of that particular race. The Chinese have done it. So it's fascinating.
I didn't expect this to be this serious. I was going to only say that the only Artemis I rate is Artemis Pyle, who, as music followers will know, is a 77-year-old drummer of Lynyrd Skynyrd. But anyway,
is that right?
Good for
Sweet Home Alabama.
Sweet Home Alabama. Are you a believer in
wasn't that a Monkey song?
On aliens and life elsewhere?
No.
In various forms?
No, I mean, listen, some of the people I've hung about with it might support that view. But no, not as a basic premise, no.
All right. So I'm glad
people from Hull especially.
I'm glad we've got that out of the way. They might not be aliens, but they've staked a claim in the world of football. They're agents. Agents. Despite the predictable outrage in some quarters, is it reality, Simon, that for agents in football, it's a case of can't live with them, can't live without them? The FA have published agents' fees across English football, revealing Premier League clubs spent a record £460.3 million in 25-26, a 12% increase on the previous year. You guessed it, Chelsea were the highest spending club on agents' fees for the third consecutive year. Bole and Igbali spent £65.1 million on agents compared to 60.4 the year before. Aston Villa were next, Manchester City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Manchester United. So, I mean, I know you've had your own battles with agents over the years.
The premise of them, the principles of them, yeah.
When you were the man with the money at the top of the club and everybody's kind of, and I can imagine the scene. They're all kind of circulating around you. Is this almost inevitable? Getting back to my original question, Simon, in spite of the figures, and we'll get back to those figures, is it a case of can't live with them, can't live without them?
Well, it's now so seeded into the sort of psyche of football that players don't have to pay their agents. It's everyone else that has to pay them. And if they do have to pay them, it's an outrage because it's after-tax money that they have to pay them with and all that load of old cobblers. And it's now... the genie's out of the bottle. The interesting thing is I've never really minded agents as long as they're working for me. I don't like agents sitting in a room. I remember when Timmy Cahill, being an example, when I was signing him for Millwall and he ended up going to Everton, to be told that I had to pay 3 times the salary of the player. I had to pay more for the player from the club, being Theo, at Millwall than I wanted to, more for the salary. And at the end of that conversation, then being told by the agent that he's worked for me and in order to represent it to his client, his real client, he needed to be paid. And you sit there with your mouth open and go, hang on. How you work for me when you've made the deal 3 times bigger than I wanted it to be, and I've now got to pay the principal of it, get your client to pay for you. Now, if you move past those little anecdotal stories and you move into the reality of how the world really works, interestingly, if you look at the agents' figures, they're moving in a direction that I'd be encouraged by. Because if you've got, last year, 24-25, the agents' spend was 16%. I do in a very simplistic fashion and make it quite binary. That's probably because I spend too much time with you. But I equate agents' fees to the amount of transfer spend. Right? So if you look at the transfer spend in 24-25, it was $2.5 billion.
Right.
Agents' fees were 16%. If you look at their revenue now, 460 million on 3.5 billion, it's going the other way. It's 13%. So if you actually look at the percentage of transfer fees against agents' fees being generated, some would say it's going in the right direction. The only caveat I've ever put on it is restricting agents from representing all parties so there isn't a conflict of interest. And I don't understand, have never understood, why agents aren't charged a levy for participating in a sport. If I'm a football club owner, I have to pay a league levy to the Football League or to the Premier League for transfer fees, for season tickets, for anything I generate.
Right.
Why are agents given a pass? Why wouldn't 5% or 10% of agents' fees be automatically charged at point of transaction and then recirculated back into the football pyramid. Now, I realise it's only 40 million quid, but that's not the point.
I'm with you on that. But your argument also, correct me if I'm wrong, is that the club shouldn't pay the agent, the player should pay the agent. And that makes sense because in every other walk of life, that's what happens.
But you can't rework and rewire the system because it's so seeded in, these horrors of the past, like Dennis Roach, that flew around in their private jets, making fortunes off the back of creating a new narrative in football that started with we represent clients, moving on to they've got to get sign-on fees, moving on to the players have got to get loyalty bonuses for turning up for a year, moving up to they get appearances for sitting on the bench. All of these different facets and foibles that have become so specific have created this maze, and I would say malaise, of circumstances. Agents in professional sport are not a cancer, because if you look at the American marketplace, it embraces them, not just because we've seen Jerry Maguire, but because we've seen the way the American sports, they don't vilify agency in the same way that we do in this country, because more often than not, agents are not as divisive in American sports, because the way that the market works is slightly different. It's not done by drafts, it's done by contract values rather than transfer fees. So it hasn't become this muddied, complicated financial mire of opportunity. And then they didn't have this stupid, they have the draft, I get you, but they don't have this stupid parameter of, I know how we make agents even more powerful. Let's get transfer windows so you've got a supply and demand opportunity so people can put their little egg timer on and start determining how much money they can make.
Let me be more specific. Is it any coincidence that the club agents made most money out of in dealings with is Chelsea? Now, for the third year in the trot, it's Chelsea who are top of the league. Now, while being the biggest spenders on agent fees, it's also been revealed that Chelsea made the biggest loss ever recorded by any Premier League club. 262.4 million quid. Now, the reason I bring that up, in fact, before I go on, and I am going to go on, I remember speaking to Todd Bowley post the Club World Cup victory, and he underlined to me almost the vindication of the Chelsea project and the direction in which they want to go.
I think the boys have shown that they are a force to be reckoned with, and we knew all along in the value of the project. But we're hopeful that every day we wake up, the odds are that Chelsea is going to win something big.
Right. So that was Todd telling me post the Club World Cup. But Chelsea, Simon, biggest spenders on agents, biggest spenders on transfers, and biggest losses.
What
have they got to show for it?
Put aside the losses side of things. They've got a thought process that they've won the European Conference League, they've won the World Club Championship, and maybe they're qualified for the Champions League, and they're building. They don't seem to be in the same hurry that other football clubs may be.
No, but how's that commercially brilliant?
Well, no, I don't think it is. But to answer your question about agents' fees, well, there's no surprise. They've done 65 million in agents' fees on transactions representing 600 million. And that means 300 million worth of transfers in and 300 million worth of transfers out. So if you look at you also pay to get rid of players. So don't be under the illusion that you don't say to an agent, if you help me find the absolute value I want for this player, I'm going to give you a drink out of it, metaphorically and agency-wise. So if you look at the fact that Chelsea have done 600 million worth of transfers in the 25-26 season and paid 65 million agents fees. Now go look at Aston Villa. Aston Villa have done 70 million worth of transfers, 57 million worth of sales, and paid 38 million pounds in agents fees. So when you look at the ratios, you go, you did 120 million worth of business and you paid 38 million, which is about 25-26%.
Right.
Chelsea have done 600 million worth of business and paid 65 million. So whilst the numbers look horrible and in the scale of things enormous, in the representative terms of what business has been done, they're not enormous. Now, then you take the losses. Chelsea got 100, however they got it and however they concocted it, they got 125 million pounds worth of profit last year. We know how they did it. They sold their women's team and a whole raft of other things.
I'm going to get to that.
So the that was what they were allowed to do, right? And in previous times...
I agree.
In previous times, Man City and Chelsea were allowed to build football teams with impunity, and Newcastle can't. So we all are a product of timing, and we're all a product of opportunity, and we're all a product of creative outcomes based upon the circumstances that we operate in the time that we operate them in. So I look at this and go, yeah, they've made 250 million pounds of losses, right? We are, if they're not worried about it, and they believe they can cover the gap between the PSR and also the consequences of squad cap rules that they put into place, that they've got consequences on already, then that's their business.
But it's up to us to observe it. And if Chelsea are the biggest spenders on agents and the biggest spenders on transfers and have the biggest losses, how on earth can Behdad Eghbali, who you met recently.
Yeah.
And to quote you, is one of the most impressive operators you've ever met in football.
One of the most compelling is what I said. Yeah.
But biggest spenders and agents, biggest spenders and transfers, and biggest losses.
Because they're...
And yet you put that guy right up there at the top.
I think his thought process behind what I said was, when you listen to the consequences of his thinking about the way that he pay players, because everyone's like, why would you put him on an 8-year contract? Well, if you pay him a base salary of 70 grand, everything is value added on bonuses, Champions League performances. You've got some clever thinking going on there, because I put it through the ringer to try and understand why you're buying all these players. Because no one knows what their model is. All these people that flap their gums. I'm listening to people last night on Sky, John Cross, whatever I think of him, and other people talking about the idea of how this model, they're buying players. And if these players aren't fitting, they're trading them. That's just a simple philosophy of, I'm going to buy what I think are the best players, and if they aren't good enough for the project or the focus that I have for them, I don't...
You almost said project.
Yeah, I don't like the word projects. If they're not good enough for the purpose, right, then I can trade them out. Like Madueke. Right? Madueke was brought in because on paper he looked like he was going to fit for Chelsea way of style of play. He didn't. They banged him out the door, made money on him.
Yeah.
Now that's not a model. That's simply an opportunity.
Right.
And because they've got working cash. Now, if Palace had working cash and should have working cash, they'd be able to be an ambitious football club. But they don't have working cash because their ownership model has decided we're not making any cash available. So whilst these numbers, and Chelsea are looking at this going, how big is football? We paid £2.5 billion for this football club. We said we're going to spend another 1.75 billion on building it. So they're being true to their word, right?
Yeah.
At the same time as they said they're going to build a stadium. And my perception is that they believe that Chelsea at some point will be worth 15 or 20 billion. So when Facebook was being built by Mark Zuckerberg and taking every investor's money and never turning a profit for 5 years, no one turned around and said, oh, hang on a second, this is a business that doesn't make any money. Everybody knew that they were investing for an opportunity that may arrive in the future.
I'm not going to let that fly over my head. Did you just say that Chelsea might end up being worth between 15 and 20 billion? That's what they might think.
But look at the global scale of football and look at the opportunities.
How?
Well, I'll tell you what, if they build out, if the broadcasters actually got their backsides, or the Premier League got their backside into gear and actually did what I've been talking about 7 years, and I know that they're starting to talk about it now, which is Netflix of football, what do you actually think football clubs are going to be worth? You've got Man United and Spurs, who would be worth 2 and 6 in a bottle cap soon, but were potentially going to be sold for $3.5 billion. Right? If you look at the direction of travel and say that the broadcast rights that are at $4 billion a year could go as high, if you did it yourselves, to 10 and 15 billion a year, what do you think is going to happen exponentially to the value of football clubs? But also alongside that, as Bowley said to us, and he's the least impressive of all of them, what he said to us in America was about unanonymized data, which is accessing a worldwide audience and being able to reposition that audience into other products that you may own.
Right.
Think about that, rather than just think about the small business of football.
All very impressive, but does winning the Premier League anytime soon come into it? We're going to get more on this shortly because the man Jordan's absolutely flying. I'm sure you'd agree. 10:15 on a Thursday morning, and we're live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes. Tottenham Hotspur have appointed Roberto De Zerbi as their new head coach. It is a 5-year deal. De Zerbi will become one of the best paid coaches in the Premier League, and he will receive a huge survival bonus if he keeps them up. Spurs were reluctant to include any relegation clause in De Zerbi's contract, in part because of the message it would send to the players. So there ain't no clause in there. His first game in charge will be away to Sunderland on April the 12th. Thereafter, at home to Brighton, away to Wolves and Villa, at home to Leeds, away to Chelsea, and at home to Everton. And the sporting director, Johan Lang, says De Zerbi was always the club's first choice. Simon, we've spoken about this, and now it's happened. Is this going to be a match made in heaven or hell?
ultimately for Spurs, if they avoid relegation as a result of the decisions that he makes, initially it'll be a match made in heaven. I mean, I judge him by his conduct in previous instances, and I always make the observation that if someone shows you what they are, believe them. But also, people are capable of revisiting things, changing the way they operate, and learning from their experiences. And that's the reasons why my attitude has adjusted towards Marcus Silva, because new information determines that. So my bias towards De Zerbi is not about his football coaching prowess, because we know he's a good, decent coach. Is he elite? No, I don't think he is. But is he a good one? Yeah. Is he better than Tudor? Yes. Is he worthy of being paid the third highest manager in the Premier League? Of course he's not. But Spurs have been bent over because they put themselves in a situation where they've got no choice to be able to go around and go, we got so desperate now, we'll pay anybody anything that looks like, if you can go into a desert and convince us that sand is water, we'll drink it because we're
Thursday being Thursday, we're going to talk boxing later on. And talk boxing before we get to 12 noon as well, because Deontay Wilder was speaking to Piers Morgan yesterday, and the name Simon Jordan came up. That's all I'm saying. We'll get to that. Spencer Oliver will join us later on. So will Spencer's uncle. How'd you like that? That's later. This is now. Agents' fees. The FA published agents' fees across English football, revealing Premier League clubs spent a record £460.3 million, a 12% increase on the previous year. That's what they spent on agents' fees. Chelsea, the highest spending club on agents' fees. Bowling Egbali for the third consecutive year. Here's the thing, Simon, and I'm not just picking on Chelsea, but with Forest and Everton in mind, we really need to do this. Whilst being the biggest spenders on agent fees, it's been revealed that Chelsea made the biggest loss ever recorded by a Premier League club, £262.4 million.
Yeah.
And yet, they go unpunished.
It's a 3-year cycle.
Hang on. Chelsea's financial losses for 24-25 eclipsed the previous record of £195.5 million set by Manchester City. Yeah. Chelsea passed the Premier League's profitability and sustainability rules because they, as we know, posted a profit of £128 million, the previous year's accounts, by the sale of a women's team to a sister company, Blueco Midco, for £200 million.
Them's the rules.
I.e. themselves.
Them's the rules.
Them's the rules. Yeah. Chelsea were fined $10.75 million, given a suspended one-year transfer ban. Everton and Forest both done on points.
Yeah, but we know this.
How is this fair?
We know that the nature of the decision feels massively unjust. That PSR is the only thing that needs to be consequence. I know that PSR was being ramped up as having importance, and the moment it started to take points away from people started to be concerned about it. Because previously, if it was a financial penalty, nobody cared. So all of a sudden, everybody got their backsides in gear when they started to get points penalties. Now, we also know that Nottingham Forest is a really unfair set of circumstances, because Nottingham Forest are massively disadvantaged, as are any Premier League side that comes up from the Championship, because they take the losses of the previous season from the Championship, which are a fraction of the losses you're allowed in the Premier League, and you have that overlaid. So it's massively unfair. Hugely unfair.
Right, so the rule book needs to change.
So it needs to be more sophisticated.
You've said that on a number of occasions.
It needs to be sophisticated.
But will they do it?
But it's also the gift of the clubs. the clubs have the opportunity to sit in front of the executive and say to the executive, this is what we task you to do. All of this information. For years they sat there with associated party transactions saying that these things aren't a problem, until they decided amongst the cabal that actually the rise of Manchester City, the rise of Newcastle, and clubs that could potentially do things that the cabal, the existing Liverpools, Manchester Uniteds, Arsenals didn't like, Tottenham's included as well, however laughable that is now, it was something that started to introduce the idea of, hang on, these associated party transactions. And then what you saw was Man City challenge it, and the sophisticated lawyers made the Premier League rule book look like it was written by Enid Blyton. Right? So then you get into that territory of how sophisticated are the thinkers, because it is, like I've said before, it's like putting a hole in a burst dam, because ultimately water springs out everywhere.
Right.
And they've got to have sophisticated thinking that's bulletproof for the future. But because ownership models have changed and become so much more sophisticated, it isn't the cook, the candlestick maker and the baker from the town anymore. These are multinational corporations, nation states with more money than God that say, we don't like these rules. And by the way, let's wheel in Nick DeMarco or whichever gun for hire legally is available, and they'll drive a coach and horses through the rule book.
The rule books, they need to be rewritten, don't they?
Well, they need to think. But
for the sakes of the likes of Everton and
everything
Forest.
evolves. I mean, what you've got, unlike the NFL, which was created in the 50s and 60s, which was created with the principle of how financial landscapes work, the rules that we've got have just been bolted on top of rules that are 150 years old. So the actual principles and premise of the football governance and laws that are in place have just been bolted on with a little bit of sophistication. Rick Parry came along with the 5 intellectual capitals behind the Premier League, brought in Sky, and they built a Premier League and did a distribution model around economics and just laid across the existing laws. And nobody felt that people... I remember saying to the FA, when the FA turned around to me and said, well, you can't have an academy anymore because you've relegated from the Premier League. I said, where does it say that in your rule book? Yes, I can. Oh, you can't have one because you haven't got a 60 by 40 indoor surface. And you've got to have a permanent building. I said, no, I haven't. I can have a temporary structure as long as I provide it. No, you can't. I said, well, I'll sue you then. And if you try and take away my academy licence, I will sue you uphill and down dale. So they let me build a balloon, i.e. a bubble, rather than a permanent structure, which made no difference because the kids are playing inside a bubble, right?
Right.
But they make the rules up as they go along.
But you took them on.
I took them on.
And you got what you wanted.
Correct.
Right.
And people like Parish can thank me because they've still got an academy as a result of it. But the fact of the matter is that you've now got a much more sophisticated set of thinking, a much grander level of finances with the people that are owning football clubs, and they're looking at the rules going, I don't think so.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the idea, the original premise of this question is, how can it be correlatable that Chelsea have defrauded the situation to achieve outcomes which have clear consequences? And one of them is really evident is the £5 million offshore payment that allowed Eden Hazard not to go to Man United and went to Chelsea. It's a clear sporting advantage, yet in the determination, there was no reference of sporting advantage, because that's what's the precursor. All they referenced was the cooperation. And the cooperation was such a massive factor that it they determined that, because Everton didn't particularly cooperate, and neither did Nottingham Forest. And Everton were a clown college. I remember their finance director, I think it was Colin Chong or something, come out with the most ridiculous statement. But the bottom line is that it's unfair and it's unjust, and the outcomes are not right. They're not relatable to the offences, and it makes you wonder, when you've got people like former executives in Chelsea that were responsible for the appointment of the executive in the Premier League, how these things stink a little bit.
I'm going to come in with a juggernaut of a question just before we hit 10:30, and it pertains to Chelsea. Serial winners but cheats versus the biggest spenders with the largest losses and no major success to show for it. Which era of Chelsea feels more of a freak show? Abramovich's or bullying Igbali's?
I mean, their fans are cheering Abramovich, aren't they? Their fans are celebrating Abramovich, who's, with due respect...
Which one do you admire more?
Well, it's difficult to say I admire either, because... The profligacy that football clubs have and the way that Roman Abramovich ran it was, I don't care how much I spend. I mean, David Dean famously said, didn't they, parked their tanks on our lawns of firing £50 notes across the divide. That's okay, because once upon a time, Arsenal and Liverpool just had a monopoly, didn't they? They were the biggest clubs in English football, so they got the best players.
Yeah.
So a challenge is not a bad thing. And in fact, these guys coming into football, opening up the landscape, has created this phenomenon that is the Premier League. But, I mean, look, I'm not a child. I think this stuff has gone on to time immemorial. I think people have been paid off the books. I think backhanders have been done. I think it's been done across the board.
And still being done?
I would imagine so, yeah.
And it's not going to stop?
I think it's like I've said before, as probably not the greatest of analogies, it's like if you put a burglar alarm on your house, but MI5 want to break in, doesn't matter how sophisticated your burglar alarm, they're going to get in. if people want to find a way around rules, they will create enough sophistication in their thinking and opportunity that they will do it. So Chelsea have been caught, and they should be castigated, and they should have been consequenced
under the previous ownership.
Yeah, under the previous. But it has to be visited on the current ownership because it's the same football club.
Right. Yeah.
You know, it's not like Rangers that were destroyed, dismantled, and then put back together under a new framework.
Yeah. Here's a question for you as we hit 10:30. Did Simon misrepresent one Deontay Wilder? We'll get into that next. Don't peek too soon, mate.
Mm-hmm.
Tuchel was asked about Arsenal's 10 international withdrawals, including Rice and Saka. He admitted he understood the look of it, unquote, but defended his England duo over their injury issues, revealing Rice has been playing, quotes, at 70% for some time because of his continued discomfort. Tuchel says everyone can do the math, and it's a lot of players, of course, and during this situation, it looks a bit suspicious. He says, I understand the look of it. I still have 100% trust in the honesty of Saka and Declan. We did medical tests. I saw them. I've no reason to believe that Declan is not honest with me. I've no reason to believe Bukayo is not honest. Asked specifically which injury Rice was nursing, Tuchel said, I'm not sure if I want to give it away. I think Arsenal wouldn't be happy if I gave it away. But he feels a discomfort for a while. He's playing through it. Tuchel said it was up to Arsenal, Danny, to decide for themselves how much risk they're taking by playing Rice. And he added, I'm not willing to take this risk for my key player. I mean, at the business end of the season, and this is where we're at, do these situations call for a common sense approach from international managers like Tuchel?
Yeah, common sense sounds, I think it makes absolute sense that if he's got one of his best players saying they're not quite fully fit, go and rest up, go back to your club. I think that's he's looking after himself, he's looking after his squad, he's doing the right thing by the player.
Thomas Tuchel is warning Phil Foden he's not guaranteed a World Cup spot. Well, Gabi Agbonlahor says the German clearly likes Foden, but he simply hasn't performed in matches.
You look like, at the moment, it sounds like a training ground player. Yeah. Which is what you never want to be associated with. I had loads of players, Ali, that I won't name names, but they're training ground players who turn up and they're the best player and they start and then they go missing.
Meanwhile, we're told Lionel Messi will probably play for Argentina this summer, but now aged 38 may not do himself justice. South American football expert Tim Vickery says Messi needs Julian Alvarez to shine.
He's so versatile, he's got so much lung power, he's so talented and intelligent that you take Julian Alvarez away and Messi starts to look 38 going on 39.
Right, okay. Chelsea boss Sonia Bonpastor is demanding more respect for her players after Arsenal knocked them out of the Champions League. Bonpastor lost it at the officials after Katie McCabe escaped a sending off for pulling Alyssa Thompson's hair.
What is the VAR doing in these games?
Well, McCabe says she was reaching for Thompson's shirt, not her hair. And Tiger Woods has turned down the chance to captain Team USA at next year's Ryder Cup as he takes a break from golf to focus on his health.
It's live on talkSPORT this weekend. It's live on DAZN as well. Deontay Wilder, his 50th fight, goes in against Derek Chisora. His 50th fight. We'll see what happens thereafter. We'll talk more about this from 12 onwards. I've often mentioned this. I was coming back from Newcastle with producer Luke after we did the OB up there. You were down here causing ructions with Deontay Wilder. What was it again you said to Wilder that set him off? Very briefly.
I asked him about Tyson Fury, and he said, I don't want to talk about it. And I said, well, we're going to talk about it.
Right.
And it went from there.
And it went from there. Yeah. And it did go from there. So, downstairs on the second floor of this building, in the last day or so, Piers Morgan was in conversation with Deontay Wilder and Derek Chisora ahead of their showdown fight. And they touched on that. And Piers brought that explosive moment with Simon up to Wilder.
You lost those fights, and those fights were lost. And you saying that someone like Fury cheated you in those fights, I think is kind of disappointing to me about you. Because
I know the truth. I have the facts. It's so hard to believe a black man and a white man. Why y'all don't get it? And that's the problem. You think you get what you don't understand. Inside of him, Fury fan? I don't about that.
I'm not a Fury.
I don't about it. I said we didn't want to bring him up in the first place. It ain't got to do with him.
Fair enough.
The you talking about?
Now, Simon Jordan does have that effect on people. But what made you so angry about that?
I mean, it's just the fact I'm a grown man. You're not going to tell me what I'm going to talk about when I don't want to talk about. We're all going to talk about it. So when you say we're all going to talk about it, I'm like, hold up. You know, I got more responsibility than you have life left in you. You know, so how you tell a grown man what he's going to talk about? I'm not going to be afraid to speak mine. Everybody know that.
And by the way,
I speak my piece.
Deontay, I respect
my
that
thing
too.
is don't edit it. Don't have an hour-long show, then edit it to benefit yourself.
Do you know what we do on this show?
Right, you edit things to make yourself look good. That's it.
Deontay,
yes, it was a lot of things said.
On this show?
Yeah, well, not on this one, on that show. There was a lot of things edited. That wasn't given to the people, the public. If you're gonna have me here, and you're gonna be the interview, give it to the people. Give it full to the people. Don't edit it and make it seem like you sounding good, or make it seem like I'm the bad guy.
Do not
and you
judge me.
all y'all do it. All you journalists do it.
Can I get a word in?
Ha. So, I mean, it begs the question: Naughty boy, did you edit it? Well, in a way that Deontay thought it was misrepresentation?
He's accusing me of misrepresenting him, and to some extent he's right, because I didn't show the deluded race-baiting rant and bullying that he tried to put into the equation, and the simpleton that he became in an argument that had no real resonance to it. He's right, and he's picked up on something I said, because I said at the time, and I think I said it to you on the show, when I asked him a question about Tyson Fury, he keeps on saying that he told people that this wasn't to be asked. That's a lie. It's an absolute lie. If I'd have agreed with Deontay Wilder not to ask him a question, I wouldn't have gone and asked it. So there was no discussion categorically, factually, and specifically and explicitly about excluding that question. He brought the subject up in a previous interview. It's a subject matter that's very, very prevalent to the British audience because he's fighting in the UK where Tyson Fury is a huge name.
Yeah.
So I asked him a question. Now, what I did was what I always do, which is try and assert control over a conversation and the direction of it. And I said to him, well, you're going to answer the question, which he didn't like. But after that, I then said, look, let's row back from that. You're a great fighter. I missed you 4 years ago when you came in with Jim. I was really interested to hear what you had to say, but I'm surprised you said these things about Fury. And he just went berserk, and he brought it in all about race and started to say white privilege and all this sort of stuff. Now, ironically, if I asserted the argument about black privilege, which is him shouting and screaming at me and being able to get away with it, we'd have a completely different conversation, wouldn't we? So there's no misrepresentation. And this idea, the only editing that was done on this was because he was so foul-mouthed and abusive and so ridiculous in the things he was saying.
You had to get rid of it.
The person that would have been hurt by showing it is him. I'm more than happy for the world to see him in all his glory and all his ridiculousness and all his race-basing nonsense.
So unedited, this would have made Wilder look worse.
Totally. So when he sits in the studio with Piers saying, we edit content, first of all, we sit in this studio on a daily basis and we're quite happy to have everything out there, mate. So I've got no problem. The only thing I was concerned about in that interview was how embarrassed I was that I'd actually let News UK down by doing an interview with somebody and it'd gone off the rails. Now, little did I know that they're rubbing their hands in the control box going, we got gold here. But I'm sitting there going, how do I get this moron back on track? Right? Because he's going off on a berserk rant about a subject matter that never came to the fore. Nobody talked down to him. Nobody told him anything that he couldn't. All they did was an interview was say, in my view, we're lucky to have you in the studio. And you're lucky to have our audience. Yeah. So I'm going to ask you a question and I'm going to insist you answer it. So I get the fact that he took offence here because I already thought to myself afterwards, oh, that was a bit robust. But if you go forward 30 seconds in a tape, you hear me saying, look, let me repackage it. You know, you're a great fighter. We're great to have you here. I'm fascinated by you. I missed you 4 years ago. The bomb squad stuff always intrigued me. But I've got to ask you about this. So there was no texture.
And you were asking him specifically about those defeats at the hands of Fury.
I was asking him about the ridiculous... I mean, I was facetious. I did say to him, you know, you came into the ring wearing your Game of Thrones outfits, right? And ultimately you blamed everything, you know, you blamed everybody besides the third gunman on the grassy knoll for your loss.
Well,
right?
he said the outfit, the costume he was wearing was too heavy for him.
That's right.
Around that time.
He says, I didn't say that. I said, yes, you did. And you blamed Mark Breland. No, I didn't. I said, yes, you did. You fired Mark Breland, your trainer, who was a great fighter and a great trainer. You blamed everybody besides yourself.
Yeah.
So he just then went from the idea that I'd questioned him to the fact that he was a black man being oppressed by a white man in a conversation.
Where he totally lost...
What's this got to do with it?
Where he totally lost the plot was he called you a journalist.
And I'm happy to be not called that, quite frankly, because I find that something... If I get called that...
And Eubank Senior called you that as well.
Well, we are journalists. I am a journalist to some extent now, aren't I? Because I'm sitting in the studio asking people questions. That's journalistic, isn't it?
10:41. But it is, though, isn't it? Thursday, April the 2nd. In actual fact, I am a journalist.
But not in the way that they... No, but what they want to do is they want to say...
Clip that up, boys.
You're a journalist, you don't know anything, like I do a lot of the time. Right. But
you all suggest that journalists have got more faces than the town clock.
I do, but I'm not. I'm asking the same questions. One thing they can't say about me is I won't ask them the same questions to their face that I would ask behind their back.
But the question was, to be fair to you, and I'm not siding with you just because we do this every day, it was valid. You were right to ask
He's a liar.
And you're telling me beforehand, and I believe you, Wilder didn't say before you went live, don't ask me that.
The only contact I had with Deontay was that Derek had kept him waiting for an hour because Derek was being late coming across London for no particular reason than just being late.
Yeah.
Deontay wanted that down to the studio. And I said to him, mate, don't hang around in it. It's freezing cold. Go upstairs in the green room. We'll see you when the idiot gets here. Right? And an hour later, Derek comes in and we've got an interview and everything's fine. But the reasons why he doesn't want to talk about Tyson Fury is because he cannot stand up what he said. He cannot support the argument. I've got a documentary. Well, go on, then show it. You're never going to show a documentary about all the allegations you've made about Tyson Fury, about doping and anvils inside his boxing gloves and all this sort of nonsense, because it's nonsense.
Yeah.
And then he's extrapolating up saying, and the reason being is because Tyson Fury is a white man and I'm a black man, and the reasons why I've not got the outcomes in boxing that I should have got is because of that.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I think that's nonsense.
If you did the Wilder interview right now, again, would you go about it in the same way?
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say to him, are you gonna? Right? I would say, well, I think we should actually.
Was it your tone? Was it your tone that fired him up?
It was assertive. No, I think he's using that as an excuse now because he's heard me say it. I said on this show the next day, I think I shouldn't have said it that way. He's gone from I provoked him. He's insinuated that I've said something of a racial nature, which I'm offended by because people know what that does to people.
Of course.
You start flinging racial epithets.
Absolutely.
Around, people start getting consequences.
I agree with you.
And he cannot stand up.
Yeah.
He couldn't sit in this studio and wouldn't sit in this studio and be able to have an argument about how that interview went because he's lying. He knows he's lying and he'll never come and do an interview with us again because people say he doesn't need to.
Yeah.
But because he can't stand up what he said. And in the same way that he'll never bring evidence about Tyson Fury and the allegations that he's made because he cannot stand it up.
I'm with you. You were right to ask it. And you're right. If you interviewed him again right now, you'd be right to ask it. Coming up to 11:15. It's Jim White and Simon Jordan, a couple of journalists on air here at talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes. I wish he'd hit you.
Mm-hmm.
wanted to talk about Marc Cucurella, actually, because twice in 2 days he's hit the headlines. He was talking about saying that it would be so difficult to turn down Barcelona if they called, but he's now criticised the sacking of former manager Enzo Maresca and the club's transfer policy. On the sacking, he said, the moment Enzo Maresca left, it had a big impact on us. If you asked me, I would not have made this decision. Not positive if you're Liam Rosenior reading that, is it?
I don't know what's going on at Chelsea, my former club.
There's a few players now, isn't there? Cole Palmer's been linked to a move. We've got Cucurella, obviously Enzo Fernandez with Real Madrid.
Well, let's get it right, okay? And Ali, jump in on this. You've been a manager. One of your Rangers players, is quite vocal about he'd love a move and the previous manager was better than you. How are you going to react to that?
Oh, he's getting the curly finger. Yeah, come here, you. Office. Oh, he's getting the curly finger. I need a word with you. Sit down there. It's got it.
Wouldn't do it, would you?
No. I think it's disrespectful.
Absolutely.
Right. I think it's disrespectful. I really do. I mean, you don't want the manager coming out and saying, right, I'm going to get rid of him straight away when I come in. That you can't have it that way either. There has to be a mutual respect, right?
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how the questions came about. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
Particularly in international breaks, right?
Yeah, they go away and they
exactly. And he's maybe sat down at a press conference and been talking about the game, and then somebody's went, right, bang, have some of this. And they're not, I'm saying they're not smart enough. It's a Thursday morning. It's Jim White and Simon Jordan. We are live on talkSPORT. Simon, we saw a whole bunch of matches, competitive games, friendlies this week. There was one between Spain and Egypt. It was a friendly. But Spain's friendly with Egypt this week was marred by fans singing an anti-Muslim chant. The Spanish Football Federation faces punishment from FIFA after fans chanted, "Jump, jump, jump. Whoever doesn't jump is a Muslim." Now, playing in that game for Spain, Barcelona's 18-year-old Lamine Yamal, who is a Muslim. He called the behaviour from some of the Spanish support disrespectful and unacceptable. And he considers those responsible ignorant and racist. And he went into that in further detail on a post on social media. But it goes without saying, there is a degree of concern as to what might come Lamine Yamal's way in future games, in future weeks, in future months. So does it take bravery to call out your own fans, and they were his own fans, they were Spanish, by making it known what you think of what they're chanting? Spanish football journalist, sport journalist Graham Keeley joins us live. Graham, good morning. Tell us a bit more about this and tell me the degree of reaction this has had over there, because you were there as I understand it.
Yes, I was. This has had massive reaction here in Spain and obviously further afield. For instance, today the front page of Marca, which is the best read sports newspaper in Spain, is black, basically, as if someone had died. They're quoting verbatim Lamine Yamal's words. Now, that in itself is quite significant. Beyond sport, it's one of the top stories today on Thursday, 2 days after the match, in the main news bulletins. And last night, the Spanish Prime Minister weighed in and condemned the chants. So you can see it's had a huge reaction. Main reason, as you rightly say, is that Spain is due to co-host the World Cup in 4 years' time. And what also many commentators here have highlighted is that where the final is actually going to be played has not been decided. So events like this might influence FIFA against Spain.
Right. I mean, Lamine Yamal obviously got involved and is centrally involved with his comments. As I understand it, Graham, the singing began during the first 10 minutes of the game, was repeated later in the first half, and that prompted an intervention during the break. And despite warnings, the chanting continued in the second half. In fact, some members of the home crowd were even chanting, "Gibraltar is Spanish." So it seems there was a real edge to this the other night.
Absolutely. And it started even before the game started, because at the beginning they had the Egyptian anthem first, and instead of it just being played and then the Spanish anthem, it was barracked. There was loud whistling, jeering, and I just thought this is strange. It's supposed to be just a friendly and nothing like this. It was like, unfortunately, reminiscent of England games I've been to in the past where things have been not very nice.
Right. Right.
But so that was how it started off, and it just got worse from then on in. We had a warning on the loudspeakers about these chants, and then a sign came down, a video sign, basically saying that these kind of chants would contravene the law against racist incidents like this. And then when people saw this sign, there was a kind of jeering towards the sign, like laughing at it. So it was a kind of unfriendly, uncomfortable atmosphere
throughout the whole occasion. And Graham, you live there and you work out of there. Simon, you have lived there for many years of your life, and you're still back there on a regular basis. Does this disappoint you hugely?
Any form of racism disappoints me. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of things going on in Spain at this moment in time with the Prime Minister that's taking various policies around naturalising illegal immigrants for various motivations that are finding their way into the culture of Spain, that's getting the same sort of resistance as some of the issues that we're having in this country. But that doesn't mean that it should visit itself on a football field. But society does. Society, the people that go inside football stadiums are part of society, whether you like it or you don't. Now, talking about the young man having the courage to say something about it, yeah, I think he should be admired. I think that within the football fraternity, he will be. Specifically within the confines of his own football club, of course he will be. I mean, obviously, it's slightly difficult playing in mainland Spain because he plays for Barcelona, they're Catalonian, so it's a slightly different dynamic. But again, I go to the point, and it's not an excuse, it's a backdrop explanation of what society in Spain is looking like.
Right.
This naturalisation of 500,000 illegal immigrants with another 500,000 to come behind it by Sanchez is causing ructions in that country and causing real resistance to certain societal issues that they believe are being visited in Spain as they are in other countries in Europe. Now, that shouldn't explain racism inside a football club, but it gives you a backdrop to why some of the things in society, in Spanish football, are seeing the reflection of the attitude towards society. And I don't like it. I don't agree with it. I go to football matches to be away from this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And to not see it not be part of it.
I mean, Graham, considering what has come the way of Vinicius Jr., from sections of supporters in Spain, is there a worry, how can I put it, that Lamine Yamal's in for a hot reception in certain areas of the country in weeks and months ahead?
Yeah, definitely. In fact, he's already had it. I looked at the comments underneath his Instagram post. Most of them were admiring what he'd done, but a few were not at all. There were people posting images of the reconquest of Iberia by Christian forces against the Muslims, people having a go at him. So I imagine he may find at future games for Barca or for Spain that, again, you're going to find some elements having a go, or indeed in the wider society. And I think it's important to say that this is a person who has never made any kind of political statement at all, and has come out at this moment. I suppose he had to, but for him, it's pretty unusual.
It is, and you wonder, you wonder if Lamine decided that himself. He's still a very young man, or if the people around and about him, Graham, said, right, we feel that you should say something about it, and say something in his name. He did. He said, I understand that not all fans are like this, but those who chant phrases like this, using religion for mockery in the stadium, makes you ignorant and racist. I mean, it's strong. You wonder if that's him. Is that his view? Or if it's Lamine's representation around him?
Yeah, well, you've got to understand where he comes from. I've been to the town where he was born and brought up. It's a small town outside of Barcelona. It has a big immigrant population from Morocco. His father was born in Morocco, met his father. And so that element of his life is very important. And his mother came from Equatorial Guinea. So, you know, it may be at the influence of his parents or people around him, indeed, quite possibly. But, you know, that background is very much where he's come from as a person. So could be a bit of both.
But at the end of the day, people are always going to disagree with people. First of all, I don't agree with the principle of mocking a religion makes you racist, because that's not necessarily a definition of racism. To mock a religion, that's what people are trying to do by introducing anti-blasphemy laws in the back door. That's not racism, it's being critical, and that's what society does in the West. It criticises and sometimes mocks. But I would imagine, irrespective of what our colleague has suggested, that if the bulk of people are supporting it, then we mustn't get het up and caught up with the fact that there's a few dissenting voices that are going to be vociferous about the dislike of it. And I would imagine that an 18-year-old man, boy, with due respect to how talented he is, has been prompted to suggest that this is something he should be saying. He has also qualified by saying he realises it's not directed against him, it's directed against others. It's a bit like when we were playing, and England played in Albania, and I don't like the characterisation our colleague has just said that he references the sort of unease he has when he goes to England games, because there's unease in stadiums all round European football, whether you go to Poland or Albania or other countries. So it isn't just England that create unease in football stadiums. Right. I don't like that characterisation for a start. But the idea that we had it when England played Albania or something like that, and they were booing the black players, and they had black players playing for Albania, was it Albania or North Macedonia, and the players acknowledged the fact that they weren't booing their black players, they were booing England's black players. Yeah. So the ignorance is all pervasive.
Of course, of course. And Graham, just for the record, you didn't see Lamine Yamal score. In fact, you didn't see anybody score. It was 0-0, and Egypt were down to 10 men. Am I right?
Exactly. I went to the game hoping it was going to be a great performance from Spain and Lamine Yamal, and frankly it was lackluster. Egypt were pretty good. So as a game, a bit of a nothing. But unfortunately, this has been the story of the game about these chants.
Okay, Graham Keeley, thank you so much for joining us. Graham works out in Spain, and we'll see what happens. We hope next to nothing, of course, happens. Nothing impossible regards any follow-up to what Lamine Yamal decided to post after that game. It is 11 o'clock on this Thursday morning.
We know the bulk of his squad, don't we? If you say,
well, you got the obvious ones, right? Yes. Of course, right? The main 11, you'd probably say almost picks itself, but then you got to take 26, and you are going to need these players.
I don't think Harry Maguire's done himself any harm over the last two games, actually.
The number 10 position for me is scary fault.
That is not, well...
Has Cole Palmer done enough in this England, in the last two camps, to warrant being on the plane?
This is what annoys me about you. Why the last... It's not just these last two games. It's the last year.
Well, he ain't played.
So for England, I'm talking about.
Yeah, but he's hardly played for Chelsea.
The last year, that's what Thomas Tuchel will look at. Not just Cole Palmer, all of them. It's not just the last two games. If you take the last two games...
Yeah, but Cole Palmer needed to turn up for England this two camps and stake his claim.
Yeah, and he hasn't. Well, he hasn't done enough. None of them have. I mean, there are one or two players you look at and think. I mean, I think in all honesty, as I mentioned, Harry Maguire, I don't think's done himself any harm. I think Garner's done himself any harm.
Are we going to go to a World Cup with Harry Maguire and Jordan Henderson?
We might do, yeah.
I mean, we're going on like we're favourites, right? Honestly.
Who says we're favourites?
Well, everyone likes to think we are. Everyone likes to think we are.
It's all about what you do when you... I've seen so many of this. I can go back over managers over the last 20 years where this same conversation comes around. None of this matters, right? You want to go into it in a positive mood. And Stuart Pearce summed it up. This is a reality check, okay? We're a good team. We can be a very, very good team. We're not a brilliant team. But it's about getting to the USA. The 2 warm-up games...
We should be a brilliant team.
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van range, supporting van owners to get the job done. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van centre.
With your headlines at 11:01, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good morning. As Phil Foden faces an uphill struggle to make England's World Cup squad, Gabby Agbonlahor says Tuchel clearly likes him, but Foden's just not performed.
You look like, at the moment, it sounds like a training ground player, which is what you never want to be associated with. I have loads of players, Ali, that I won't name names, but they're training ground players who turn up and they're the best player and they start and then they go missing.
Foden's been warned he's not guaranteed a place in Tuchel's squad this summer. Every game of this World Cup will be live here on talkSPORT. Chelsea boss Sonia Bonpastor is demanding more respect for her players. It's after they went out the Champions League to Arsenal. Bonpastor lost it at the officials after Katie McCabe escaped a sending off for pulling Elisa Thompson's hair.
I just think it's not good enough. And at the end, again, I'm the one who gets a red card, where I think the Arsenal player should be the one who gets a red card. And what is the VAR doing in these games?
McCabe later posted to say she was reaching for Thompson's shirt, not her hair. Arsenal play the winners of Lyon versus Wolfsburg tonight in the semi-finals. Tiger Woods has been allowed to leave the US for medical treatment. That's following his arrest on suspicion of driving under the influence. Woods is stepping back from golf to focus on his health for a while. And Tony Bellew's told talkSPORT Andy Ruiz would be the perfect world title tune-up for Moses Itauma. And looking forward to this weekend, Bellew fancies Derek Chisora to get it done despite the danger of Deontay Wilder.
Simon Jordan was saying that, he hasn't seen Deontay Wilder throw meaningful punch in 12 months, and I get his point there, I really do. But at the same time, he only needs one punch, lads. He's a one-trick pony, but I'm not going to lie, it's a hell of a trick.
Loads more on talkSPORT's boxing YouTube channel.
talkSPORT News.
Humanity has begun its first trip back to the moon for more than 50 years, and Thames Water is reportedly in talks with the regulator to pause future fines until 2030. Amelia's back at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. With over 400 EV-ready centres across the UK, we're top of the league for electric car owners. Visit quickfit.com and book today.
In the southeast, drizzle is clearing, mostly dry elsewhere with sunny spells. Cloud and rain spreading to the northwest later. Average temperatures.
Morning, everybody. 4 minutes past 11 o'clock. It's Jim White and it's Simon Jordan, and we are live in talkSPORT, coming to you live, of course, on your TV, as we always do these days. You can watch this show from start to finish every morning. The mornings we are on, Monday to Thursday, from 10 to 1, and so many of you are doing that. Chromecast, Google TV, even Prime Video, wherever you want to watch the show, we are there for you. It may have been an international spell of fixtures, but my God, there's been plenty going on in the game of football behind the scenes. Ben Jacobs will join us very shortly because a whole bunch of things to get through. Don't think for a moment it's been a quiet time. It's been far from quiet, as Ben will point out. And one big name has got himself, well, maybe with all due respect, not a big job. The big name is Jermain Defoe, but he's got a job as a head coach. He's in management now. Where, though? He's taken over at National League club Woking, and he's given us his reasons why.
I don't know, I just feel like, you know what, my mum's always said to me in life, you've got to be grateful for every opportunity you get. You know, everyone's journey is different. You know, I've sat down with, you know, Lee Carsley and Gareth Southgate, you know, part of a course, and spoke about their journeys in the game. And, you know, you look at successful managers, everyone's journey's been different. You look at Klopp's journey, you know, when he was sort of like not forced into management, it sort of like fell on his lap. Gareth the same. But I think for me, it's important to one, you know, appreciate the opportunity, and no different when you're a player. You know, when I was a player, you know, the young 16-year-old at West Ham in the youth team, you have to, I suppose, earn your stripes. You have to do your apprenticeship. You can't expect just because I've had a good career, I can't expect to just jump in at the top or get that big job or an opportunity. And you know, it's one I'm really looking forward to. Of course, we're ambitious people. You know, I'm someone who loves football. You know, I want to do well. You know, the main sort of like objective is, of course, to get promoted. You know, and I think with the players that we've got, you know, some good players there, some top players. The games that I've watched, I've been really impressed, and I believe that me and my coaching staff, I think that we can go to the next level.
It's Jermain Defoe's first permanent role, Simon, of his managerial career. He previously was part of an interim coaching staff at Rangers in 2021 and the Spurs Academy. Woking, for the record, are 11th in the National League. So, Jermain, if you're listening, you know, we know, you've got a lot to do there. I've known him for years, Simon. When he was a young kid playing under Harry at West Ham, at Chadwell Heath. I would interview him now and again for Sky. I say hats off to him here. I think this is, in the office, there was a bit of a mixed reaction. Does Jermain really need a job like this? I would say yes. And if you're going to go in at any level, well, this is an example for sure of any level.
Yeah, I mean, Jermain, I did an Upfront, one of the podcasts with Jermain, and I was very impressed with him on different levels. And not being condescending, I expected something slightly different, because if you look at the media representation of Jermain over his playing career, it sometimes portrayed him as a little bit of a Jack the Lad party boy. And I got a very different animal in front of me. He was very cerebral, very considered in his thinking, and very ambitious and very progressive and wanting to get involved in football management. Yeah, we can look at the examples and say, well, why does he have to operate down at Woking? Why do other people that have been elite footballers suddenly land themselves in positions of bigger football clubs, like Wayne Rooney at Derby and at Birmingham and other places, and obviously Frank Lampard, who's now proving himself to be a very capable championship manager by what he's done at Coventry and what he'd done previously at Derby.
Yeah.
And Jermain finds himself at the bottom end of the pyramid. And that's a set of circumstances that he's prepared to invest in. He's prepared to take the chance that he'll back himself. Certainly isn't doing it for the economics, is he? He's not doing it for the financial benefits. He's doing it because he genuinely wants to be a football manager.
Right.
I mean, a lot of people will jump on the bandwagon now and suggest it's about him becoming a black manager, and that's the reasons why he's further down the pyramid, and he's got to represent the black community. He's got to represent Jermain Defoe and be a good football manager. When I spoke to him about all the length and breadth of his career and his ambitions going forward, if I was a football club owner and I was looking for a manager, I would have interviewed Jermain Defoe based upon what I saw from him. Whether I'd give him a job or not, whether he could fit the purpose of the scale of football club I owned, is a different matter. But there is a school of thought that says if he takes this job at this level, it'll stop him having opportunities further up the pyramid, because people tend to get pigeonholed in that space.
What? That's his level, and he's not going to budge from there.
No, yeah, but if he
that's unfair, though, isn't it?
Well, of course it is. If he excels in that environment, commensurate with the opportunities that exist, right, then there's no reason why he shouldn't take incremental steps up the pyramid quickly if he's good at his job. Now, of course, Woking didn't employ him to be a stepping stone, but they will realise that Jermain Defoe, the former international footballer playing for big football clubs around the world, will want to be a successful manager. And so whilst they've got him at Woking, they'll expect him to do a very good job for them. And that is the absolute cornerstone of the opportunity that exists for Jermain.
Yeah.
So I think that he'll go down there. I think he'll apply himself. We'll see if he can manage, because it's one thing coaching, it's one thing loving being on the grass. It's another thing being able to get a tune out of a group of players that play at a certain level. They're far beneath the levels that you've played at, and often good players find it difficult to manage lesser players. But we'll see about his management skills now. So I think it's great for him. I think that if he's not worried about it, if he doesn't feel that it limits his opportunity and feels that the opportunity is his, because he's been given a chance by a football club, then get in there, son. go run Woking to the very best of your abilities, prove your point, and let's see what opportunities present themselves for you.
You look at some of the individuals that played when he played, the big names, and Jermain's a big name. But as you said, Lampard started at Derby, Gerrard started at Rangers.
Yeah, maybe they got better agents.
Rooney started at Derby. Ashley Cole, for example, started as a coach of England youth groups. Then Everton, then progressed. Now he's at Chisena in Serie B.
Yeah.
Liam Senior started at Hull. If further down the line, say if Woking finished third or second, and next year a job comes up and you were the owner in the Championship, would you be looking at Jermain?
It depends. Depends what kind of job he's done, and depends what kind of manager I think he is, and depends if he's looking for a job at that particular point. But you would more likely give Jermain Defoe a roll of the dice if he's managing a football club, than rather than one suggesting that he's the John Terry character that everyone thinks could be a great manager but has never managed. So he's gone out there and laid claim to being a manager now. So people can make the argument, why does he have to go down the pyramid? Why does he have to be so far down the pyramid? Well, Teddy Sheringham went to Stevenage.
Yeah.
You know, he managed down the pyramid, couldn't do it. But notwithstanding that, he did go and do it, and he's a big name. And the advantage for Jermain is he's a big name. So irrespective of where he starts, it's not where Jermain starts, it's where he ends up and how quickly he ends up where he will want to end up, which is being a top-flight manager if he ever has the capability of doing that. And he's going to be more likely to do it by putting some boots on the ground and exhibiting management characteristics and qualities than he is if he isn't. And the challenge for football managers in this country, especially English ones, is it's a global audience now. Look at the managers. Look down the pyramid and look at them and see how many overseas coaches are managing all the way down the pyramid. I mean, we had Regis, what's his surname, the Sunderland manager, Regis Labrie, managing was appointed in League One, right?
Yeah.
But we're taking overseas managers and running League One clubs. The advantage that Jermain will have is everybody knows Jermain's name.
Right.
So if he does a good job, he's not going to be a secret. He's not going to be, well, who's that manager of that club that's done well? Because you don't know the managers of Forest Green Rovers, do you?
Yeah.
You do it when eventually they get some success, but more often than not, you don't particularly know the lesser clubs. And so with that in mind, and I don't know why, maybe Wayne really landed as manager of Derby because the deal to get him into Derby was as a player. And it might well have been, and part as coaching, and needs must, because Derby fell off a cliff, didn't they, economically?
Yeah.
And Wayne Rooney was Johnny in position. I mean, and he got some credit out of it.
Is it virtually down to chance as to where you start, where you get your start as a manager?
Yeah, of course it will be, but there's also an element of who knows who.
Yeah.
And, what was the why did Frank Lampard get the Derby job? I don't know, because at that time Frank Lampard hadn't managed. He represents himself well in the media, in the very limited interviews he does, and the cachet around Frank Lampard is an image of someone that's quite intelligent. Not suggesting that footballers aren't intelligent per se, but he came across as an intelligent footballer. Right? And all that adds to some sort of backstory and seeded narrative, and he might interview well.
Yeah.
And the question is not just why do people get jobs, how do they get them? And if they get them because someone just gives them a job without any real credentials behind it, and some of those jobs have been given to people, I would suggest, without any real credentials, and with due respect to Wayne, I mean Wayne. But the bottom line is you look at it and say, here you go, Jermain, go prove your points. Go prove your points. And what I don't want him to be saddled with and ladled with and laden down with is he has to do it to represent a particular community. He's in the Jermain Defoe business. He's in the business of being an excellent manager, irrespective of his colour.
Yeah, yeah. Well done, Jermain. We wish you well. Anytime I've met him, he always speaks so well and speaks passionately as well. Extremely enthusiastic about the game at whatever level. Let's hope Woking are the beneficiaries of Jermain Defoe's arrival there. 11:15, we're live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes.
So tell us, Adam, what was it like working with Roberto? Because obviously you worked under some great managers, Klopp, as you know, we all know how great he was. So where do you put Roberto as a coach, and what he helped you develop your game?
Right up there with the top. I always compared him with Jurgen. Actually, probably just the passion that they both possess for the game. I think kind of tactically and game model wise, they're completely different. But in terms of like love and passion for football, they're exactly the same.
Adam, was an interest. I've got to read you a quote, if I may, from your teammate back in the day, Lewis Dunk, in 2023. He said this about De Zerbi, and I quote: "Since the new coach arrived, I see football in a completely different way." He said, "But the initial transition was carnage and confusion." So I get it totally. It maybe took a little bit of time for him to get his methods over. The one worrying thing for Tottenham fans, he doesn't have a lot of time to get that over, though.
No, I think listen, Roberto's an extremely smart man. He'll know that he's not got time to play a certain way, a certain style, and he won't be snobbish to not understand that. He knows he's got to go in there, motivate a group of men, and luckily for Roberto, he might not know that, but he's one of the most inspirational managers people there is, in my opinion.
The talkSPORT 20k giveaway.
Now, we're giving you the chance to win £20,000 completely tax-free. It's entirely up to you what you do with it. For your chance to win, text WIN to 83338. Text costs £2.50 plus your standard network rate. The number to call is 0343 418 7260. Lines close at 9 o'clock, 9th of April at 4 o'clock, and that's when you'll need to answer your phone. If it rings, 18 plus UK residents only. It's a network promotion. Terms, conditions at talksport.com. Your chance to win 20 grand. Text WIN to 83338 now. I love that line. It's up to you what you do with it. Well, it would be, wouldn't it? You've won it, and this is how we want you to spend it. Let me tell you, Simon, a lot has been going on in the world of football during this international break, not least Roberto De Zerbi, a 5-year deal at Tottenham Hotspur. I'm delighted to say my colleague here at talkSPORT, Ben Jacobs, joins us live in the show. Ben, good morning. The timeline of how the De Zerbi deal unfolded. What convinced him, outside, as Simon would say, a big bag of money, to change his mind and come now?
Yeah, I think it was a mixture of things. One was the big bag of money, but that's kind of the long term. The other is control over this Tottenham project. And this was third time lucky, really, for Spurs, because remember, they wanted Roberto De Zerbi before Thomas Frank, and that was a move driven by Fabio Paratici, the co-sporting director, who's now at Fiorentina. Then immediately after Frank departed, it was the same day that De Zerbi left Marseille, so it was impossible to get him at that point, and that was the second juncture at which a move was made, and then finally they got their man. So this wasn't just Tottenham moving in the aftermath of Igor Tudor, it was a long-standing interest. Some of it is down to him being the third best paid manager in the Premier League behind only Mikel Arteta and Pep Guardiola, but it's also a point of difference between the Daniel Levy era, where it was Levy and Paratici really driving the recruitment, and now, because you may remember this was supposed to be about Spurs making a considered summer decision after they'd hired a replacement for Paratici, but instead they've inversed it and done it the other way around. So De Zerbi's going to have a say over the new co-sporting director. He's going to have a lot of autonomy for a head coach. So short term, yes, it's about money and a stay-up bonus. But in the long run, if Tottenham can stay in the Premier League, it's about De Zerbi having a big say in the very culture and also the recruitment of this football club.
I'm going to come to Simon in a second. As they do these days, the manager on arrival has a little address for the fans. This was De Zerbi's.
Hello all Tottenham fans, I'm very happy to stay here with you. For me is a very honor and very proud to be your coach. I want to give my best. I want to stay for a long time in this big club. See you soon.
And that was that. Simon, from what Ben's telling us, De Zerbi has been given the keys to the castle, autonomous control, really, from the very top.
Maybe. I mean, I know the Spurs have been interviewing a sporting director for some time now. So it's not a case of we're just going to do it around De Zerbi and who De Zerbi wants. But of course, when you've got a manager, it makes sense that there's some symmetry and synergy between the sporting director and the manager, and especially when you've got one that's already in situ. And Spurs, I still think, want to run the dual model, which makes no sense to me, but there you are. They want to run two sporting directors. And the intellectual capital behind the appointment of De Zerbi's is Paratici's, which is under Daniel Levy's tenure. Now, the fact they couldn't execute it at the time doesn't mean that the post-it note wasn't left on the desk. As you know, Danny Kelly said the other day, didn't he? Talked about a post-it note being left on the desk by somebody which had Tudor's name on it, which is why they alighted upon Tudor. The next post-it note probably has been De Zerbi. And so there we are. So that gives, so the fact that someone of some football substance, whatever you think of Paratici or not, has given them the intellectual capital, because I can assure you there's not much in there of their own. And the fact that they've gone to De Zerbi, which was a target alighted by previous incumbents, gives you some confidence that the decision is right. He's a good coach, but he's not going to be deciding who the sporting director is. He's not going to be asserting control over the sporting director. What he's going to have is clear lines of where his role starts and other people's end.
Well, what we know, Ben, or what we assume, and would we be right to assume that if they stay in the Premier League,
well, I think he'll have a significant say and more control than maybe some previous Spurs managers under Daniel Levy. But whether or not it's a significant transfer window also still depends on finances. And even if Tottenham stay up, of course, they dodge a bullet in terms of the implications of being a championship side, but they don't have Champions League football. They won't have any European football. So it still won't be easy for Tottenham in the market. And remember, clubs are going to come circling. And my sense is that it will be an immediate test for Roberto De Zerbi, because we know he can be volatile. He hasn't stayed at a club for 5 years. And if Tottenham are to fund the business that he wants, it may be still contingent on outgoings. Christian Romero, the captain, could well leave. And I actually think it's likely, even if Spurs stay up, that he will, and there's interest from La Liga. Mickey van der Ven wants to play Champions League football. There's interest in Lucas Bergvall and Archie Gray. Then there's a few older players like Richarlison, who Tottenham may want to move on so they can look for a striker in the market. So I think this will be a difficult summer for Roberto De Zerbi, even if Tottenham remain in the Premier League. But lines will need to be drawn, and it will be fascinating to see how his personality sits within the culture of the football club, and potentially some executive changes as well. And the first summer, stay up or go down, is going to be the keen one, the most important one, I should say, for drawing those boundaries.
Right. And Ben, while we have you, what's your reading around Eddie Howe at Newcastle right now? I mean, how disruptive a summer might it be for some of their bigger stars, depending on how they finish?
Yeah, my reading is that David Hopkinson's interview, the CEO of Newcastle, has put the cat among the pigeons a little bit, because he was caveating that Eddie Howe is safe for now and it's mid-season and a conversation will happen potentially at the end of the season. But remember, Hopkinson came on talkSPORT and was far more definitive, saying that Eddie Howe is our man, and that interview wasn't too long ago. Privately, sources at Newcastle say that Eddie Howe is still safe. But for me, Howe himself has got a big decision to make. Is he happy at Newcastle? Is he restricted at Newcastle? Does he want to manage a club where he feels that he can have more control in the market because finances are more conducive? He's always had a big say at that football club, but it's difficult because PSR and even squad cost ratio is going to make it quite tough for Newcastle. And then this summer, there could be another exodus. Newcastle fans won't want to hear it, but Anthony Gordon has interest and could go. One of Sandro Tonali and Bruno Guimaraes could depart. Tino Livramento has a lot of interest as well. And I still sense that Newcastle need a big sale if they don't get European or Champions League football. So my understanding is Newcastle want Eddie Howe to stay, but I still think there'll be a conversation about his future at the end of the season, because once again, financially speaking, and in terms of player exits, Newcastle could be in for a difficult summer.
What about Mo Salah? With Saudi in mind, is he now the most eligible free agent around?
It's a strange one, because Saudi sources sense that MLS are going to make a big push, and MLS sources think he's nailed on to go to Saudi Arabia. And as a free agent, of course, there might be European interest. I'm told that reports linking him with a move to PSG are wider the mark. They're past that Galacticos era. Within MLS, a fair few teams have ruled themselves out, such as San Diego, for example, and New York City FC. But there will be franchises in MLS exploring that deal. Some think that Chicago might enter the fray, and others believe that one of the two clubs in Los Angeles will be interested within Saudi Arabia. We know the clubs themselves would love to be able to sign Salah, particularly Al Qadsiya, where Brendan Rodgers is manager, Al Ittihad and Al Hilal. Neom FC could enter the picture as well. But the strange thing I'm hearing in Saudi, Jim, is that the clubs would love him. They've got to be able to finance it. They're reliant on central funding, and central deal makers are still actually debating, is there value in signing Salah at his age and at his wage? Last summer, they would have done it because they were negotiating the TV rights, and they thought that they could sign Salah and get a really lucrative deal in Egypt. Now the central deal makers in Saudi are less sure whether he's still going to be the poster boy and have a return on investment. So the clubs are all in on Salah in Saudi, but some senior central figures still, I'm told, need some convincing.
Ben, terrific. Thank you very much indeed. The Salah thing's intriguing, isn't it?
Well, it feels more likely that he'd go to Saudi, because I don't see how they slot him into the MLS model. It's one thing bringing Messi over there and getting Messi tied into the broadcast deal that was done with Apple. That deal's been done. So the MLS, despite they can put him down as an MVP and put him in as a player that it comes outside the budgets, they're still going to have a certain level of ability to manage their own wage structures. So I think it's Saudi, and I don't necessarily concur with the view that it's problematic for them to still monetize Mohamed Salah because there's so many unique commodities. And the argument about Eddie Howe is just a ludicrous one, because Eddie Howe has nowhere to go. Eddie Howe will not, I imagine, be shuffling his deck to suggest he wants to leave Newcastle, because where's he going to go? Where does Eddie Howe land at a bigger opportunity? Because he's not going to manage Manchester City, I would wager you. I doubt he's going to be in at Liverpool. Not going to be managing Arsenal. So where does Eddie go?
To stay at that level, you're meaning?
To stay at that level.
Yeah.
So what we've got is a chief executive that doesn't really read the room very well, and has said something that probably he didn't really mean, which is, I'll deal with it later, which is just trying to manage the media rather than deal with an unadulterated commitment towards Eddie Howe, because he's thinking, we just got beat by Sunderland, I need to play the room a little bit.
Do you think he does all that?
Yeah, it was happy hands.
Yeah.
Jazz hands.
Did you ever play The Room?
No.
No.
Not at all.
Not at all. No. Why did I think you wouldn't? It's 11:30.
All right, Cundy.
Hello, matey.
How are you?
I'm all right, thank you.
How you feeling?
I'm all right. I'm okay, yeah.
Gone well?
Yes, so for those that don't know, the hair transplant last Thursday.
Yep.
A couple of days off.
Yeah.
Back in today.
You're looking well, mate. You look well.
So far.
You look hard.
Well, well, the head's been shaved, right? So there's always got the image, haven't you? Like of a bit of a thug.
Yeah, you look like you're going to be on like Football Factory or something.
Yeah. But look, it went well. It's such a weird process. I mean, you're in the chair for about 8.5 hours. It's all done.
I mean, that's hell for you, right? You can't.
Oh, mate. Well, they gave me. I fell asleep halfway through it. They gave me sedatives. Yes, I struggle to sit still, mate. But
struggle.
I struggle to sit.
Impossible.
Still. Yes, but the sedatives, mate. They work their magic. But here we go. So the big.
Mate, I like it.
Well, we'll see.
It's the new Cundy.
The new version.
The new version of.
No, improved. Don't know about that.
It looks all right, mate. I'm happy with it.
Yeah, well, look, big shout out to the Wimpole Clinic. Thank you very much for what they did. And we'll see the results, mate, over the next coming 3, 4, 5, 6 months.
You've got to have a haircut, mate. What's the haircut look? What's the trim? You
Don't know.
Quiff?
Don't know what I'm going to go for, mate.
You look all right with the old skin.
Yes, I'm not having a hair transplant and then looking like this.
No?
I'm not. No, you don't have a hair transplant and shave your head.
It's all right, though.
Well, for the time being, I've got no choice. Yeah. I've got no choice. This is how it's going to be. All right, so there you go.
You're making me die.
Yeah, it's a bit. I mean, did it hurt? Obviously, during the operation, it's very weird, or during the procedure, very weird, mate. There was one.
Thomas Tuchel is warning Phil Foden he's not guaranteed a World Cup spot. Well, Gabi Agbonlahor says the German clearly likes Foden, but he simply hasn't performed in matches.
You look like, at the moment, it sounds like a training ground player, which is what you never want to be associated with. I had loads of players, Ali, that I won't name names, but they're training ground players who turn up and they're the best player and they start and then they go missing.
Meanwhile, we're told Lionel Messi will probably play for Argentina this summer, but now aged 38 may not do himself justice. South American football expert Tim Vickery says Messi needs Julian Alvarez to shine.
He's so versatile. He's got so much lung power. He's so talented and intelligent that you take Julian Alvarez away and Messi starts to look 38 going on 39.
Right, okay. Chelsea boss Sonia Bonpastor is demanding more respect for her players after Arsenal knocked them out of the Champions League. Bonpastor lost it at the officials after Katie McCabe escaped a sending off for pulling Alyssa Thompson's hair.
What is the VAR doing in these games?
Well, McCabe says she was reaching for Thompson's shirt, not her hair. And Tiger Woods has turned down the chance to captain Team USA at next year's Ryder Cup as he takes a break from golf to focus on his health.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. We're ready for the action. Are you? Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18+. GambleAware.org.
It's that time. Our favourite man at BetMGM, Sean Martin, joins us. Simon, here he is. And of course, we're looking ahead, Sean, to Good Friday and a whole bunch of EFL Championship fixtures. I love this. It's a great time of the year, isn't it?
Morning, lads. Yeah, we look ahead to tomorrow. Good Friday, very much. EFL Championship Day now, isn't it? 7 games to go for most teams. A couple not in action due to the FA Cup, notably Ipswich and Southampton, but still plenty on the go. Kicks off with Middlesbrough 7-10 favourites to beat Millwall at home, 17-5 for Millwall to win and leapfrog Borough into second with Ipswich not playing, as I say. A couple of big ones down the other end as well. Leicester 17-20 for a home win against Preston, which might well get them out of the drop zone. Preston 9 places above the Foxes and 3-1 to win at the King Power. The team Leicester would be looking to leapfrog is Portsmouth. They're away to Norwich, who probably still do have a slight chance of a late season surge towards the top 6. You've mentioned, and of course no first hand, Simon, what can happen with momentum this stage of the season. Pompey 14-5 for the win, Norwich just under even money. And then the final one that caught my eye, I think it'll catch a few eyes. West Brom versus Wrexham can have an impact at kind of both ends of the table, Jim. Wrexham 9-4 for the win that would put them back in the playoffs, while Southampton playing the cup, obviously. The Baggies still perilously close to the relegation zone, 4 points above Leicester, 23-20 to win here, and rated 4-1 to go down, which is the longest odds of the kind of remaining 5 relegation candidates. Blackburn are 8-5 to go down, Leicester 13-10, Portsmouth 11-10, and Oxford United odds on at 13-25, despite sitting level with Leicester and a point behind Pompey, guys. And remember, they mostly do it all again Easter Monday as well, so it could be all changed before we speak again next week.
Next week, yeah. It's a good point, Sean. I mean, Simon, if you're a fan of a championship club,
yeah, Easter's a great period. I mean,
Good Friday. Yeah, you remember it when you guys were in there.
I'm just going back to my memory banks, thinking about the Easter time when you played a lot of games in quick succession, and it was always almost a definer. It was there. If you did well at Easter, your opportunities were there to avoid something or to gain something. I'm looking at Ipswich because Ipswich have got Middlesbrough coming up, I think, in April, and then they've got Southampton. So the two teams that Southampton in form and Middlesbrough, the team that's sitting in the situation, I think that's at Ipswich as well.
Right.
So I'm still in the camp and have stayed in that camp.
Ipswich
from the get-go.
I'm going to go to Charlton Ipswich later this month.
Are you?
That's a midweek fixture. Certainly, you won't miss a trick tomorrow on talkSPORT. Middlesbrough Millwall is a talkSPORT exclusive. West Brom Wrexham, talkSPORT 2 exclusive. Coventry Derby, talkSPORT exclusive.
They were a good side, you know. As much as I hate to hear myself say it, they were a good side.
Why do you hate saying that?
Because I'm not. So I went to Millwall games.
Millwall fans. Don't you just love them? Chisora Wilder. What are you thinking then, Sean?
Yeah, I had to laugh at Spencer's reaction in Top Boxing, Simon, when you were discussing if this would be Chisora's final fight. I don't know if anyone buys that, especially if he wins. As it is, it's obviously yet both men's 50th pro bout. To be fair to Chisora, since losing to Tyson Fury back in 2022, he's beaten Gerald Washington, Joe Joyce, Otto Wallen, 2 of them at the O2 where he fights this weekend. Wilder, obviously, injury issues and all that. He came back last June, stopped Tyrell Herndon away out in Wichita, Kansas. Wilder, he has obviously been saying the right things for the fight anyway, maybe not elsewhere, but for the fight he's been saying the right things, says he's back properly, he's fit, he's feeling good, but we don't really know, do we? And Chisora is the form fighter, and the odds reflect that. He's odds on at 12-25 to win it. I imagine that 5-6 years ago. Wilder 33-20, and Chisora actually also quite short odds for a stoppage, given his last one was way back in 2019 against Big David Price. If Wilder is feeling himself, a couple of my colleagues were mentioning earlier on Wilder's power, that kind of thing. If you think the power does still remain, it's 9-4 for a Wilder stoppage, so just over 2-1. First of all, Simon, Chisora wins, and we are seeing him again, aren't we? And second of all, the sheer amount of belts on the table for the women's fights in Kensington and Cardiff for the weekend, did they kind of go under the radar, do you think, because of the heavyweight stuff?
Well, to some extent, yeah. I mean, we had Nikisa Badarian on Talk Boxing, who's doing the promotions around some of the fights with fighting Caroline Dubois and Lauren Price. There's some really good fights with lots of belts up for grabs. Going back to Derek Chisora and Deontay Wilder, there's nothing left to Deontay Wilder. He'll still have the power, but the propensity to throw the shots and the ability to do so probably won't be there. I mean, I think just Derek Chisora wins that fight all day.
People say they worry about punch resistance. Is that relevant?
Well, Derek has always exhibited a remarkable ability to absorb punches.
Yeah.
And too much so for some people's liking. No.
None.
I mean, we've seen it post the first fight with Deontay Wilder. The punch resistance from Deontay Wilder has not been there.
Yeah.
And you saw it against Joseph Parker, and you saw it exhibited in all its glory against Zhilei Zhang.
I was at that.
Yeah,
I was worried about your punch resistance if Wilder had landed one on you.
Oh, yes.
No, I mean, Wilder, you're right, to be fair. Wilder, 4 losses, 3 of them by stoppage. I think Chisora's had 13 losses, but only 4 have come by stoppage. So, yeah, I get where you're coming from. Do you think it'll be a stoppage for Chisora, though? It's been ages. It's been ages since he stopped someone. Yeah?
Hope so.
Yeah, that's just because Deontay had a right old spat with you. 9-9 in Manchester, the BetMGM Premier League darts. What are you thinking then, Sean?
Yep, 9-9 takes us to Manchester, as you say. Gerwin Price has actually hit a 9-darter in each of the past 2 seasons there in Manchester. It's 6-1 for anyone to hit one tonight and 33-1 for Price to hit one in his quarter-final against Luke Humphries. Speaking of Humphries, he's obviously our defending champion, but so far, though, in a wee bit of jeopardy, Jim. Only made 1 final so far, sits 5th, so outside the playoff spots. I don't think he left the playoff spots at all the entirety of last season. The thing is, he is still scoring really, really well. He's second highest for season average. Only Luke Littler has hit more 180s. But yeah, struggling a bit by his own admission with his finishing maybe the past wee while. With the way the table is set up, if he were to lose to Price in that quarter-final tonight, and Michael van Gerwen, who made the final last week, again, remember, if he was to beat Stephen Bunting in his quarter-final, as the odds suggesting, suddenly 3rd and 4th have pulled away from Humphries a wee bit. Still plenty of time left, but yeah, that big night that we trust is coming at some point from Humphries, probably be useful for him if it was sooner rather than later. He's 4-1 for that first nightly win tonight. Littler favourite at bang on even money now. He's just been sensational the past few weeks. He's won 3 of the last 4 nights. He's reeled in 5 big fishes in that time, 9 ton plus averages, just to 46 180s. He plays Jan van Veen in his opener, and I think it will take some effort from the big Dutchman to stop him in Manchester, you'd think, lads.
Right, now I want you to have a happy Easter, Sean, but you'll have a really happy Easter if Martin and the boys can win at Dens Park on Sunday. And my God, you need to, don't you?
We do need to. Because
Rangers might have beaten Dundee United.
I says to you,
Rangers might have won on the Saturday against Dundee United.
That kind of stuff comes into play every single game now, even post-split. As I says to you the other week, technically it still hurts us to lose. Rangers obviously the least likely to lose a game, I think is the way that I put it the other week to you. I'm looking to the 07-08 season for inspiration because I don't have much else to look at for inspiration for it. As I say, seven games left in that season, 6 points behind Rangers, they 2 games in hand. Somehow we done it that season. I don't know if we've got it in us this season, but I live in hope.
Okay, Livingston play Hearts on the Sunday as well. So if Rangers have beaten Dundee United and Saturday, so if we'll see, Sean. Thank you so much, Sean Martin, top man at BetMGM. Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18 plus, be gamble aware. .org.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Keep things golden with responsible play at betmgm.co.uk. 18 plus, gambleaware.org.
The same Vinay Venkatesham, who was lauding and applauding Daniel Levy there. He blamed Levy for the club's issues at a fan advisory board meeting. insufficient focus across the organisation on-pitch success, a lack of specialist expertise in certain areas, and insufficient empowerment of experts in others. A growing disconnect between the club and its supporters base. But 3 months before that, Daniel, I don't know how you do it.
It's like
what?
It's like wedding vows, isn't
That
it?
shows you the calibre, doesn't it? I don't doubt the man is a commercially adept operator. But the king is dead. Long live the king. I had one of those in Phil Alexander, who was a treacherous hound as well. And in this instance, you've got people...
You didn't name
not
them,
leaders. Not leaders. That's not a leader. That's not a leader. That's not a leader. First of all,
Venkatesham?
Yeah, what a fawning, pitiful, sycophantic exhibition of absolute ghastliness. Right, which was then spun on its head 6 months later because his new masters have suggested something different. I mean, that doesn't smack to me of any one single scintilla of integrity, does it you? For me...
Integrity or sincerity.
Yeah, I mean, listen...
And I met Vinay, and I thought he was a delightful
He's an operator.
fella.
I'm sure
But
he's an
then-
operator. I want leaders. It's not a leader. You don't run with a hare and hump with the hounds as a leader.
It's Jim White and Simon Jordan. We're live on talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes, and we're inching towards 12 noon this Thursday lunchtime. Thereafter, we shall talk boxing. You'll hear from Chisora before he goes in against Deontay Wilder, and we're going to hear from Spencer Oliver, who's going to spend the hour with us in the company later on of his uncle, who was first to see a certain Derek Chisora walk into a gym. One result that not much was made of. The result itself is interesting. On Tuesday night, Iran played Costa Rica in an international, and Iran, of course, World Cup qualifiers, won by 5-0. So they must be more than decent.
Decent, yeah.
The Iranians.
Well, we saw them in the World Cup, didn't we? Get bashed England. England beat them 6-0, didn't they?
Well, it is levels, isn't it? I suppose. But you're right, I forgot about that. Gianni Infantino attended Iran's friendly against Costa Rica.
Did he?
And said that they will play, of course, at this summer's World Cup, despite the ongoing war with the co-hosts, the United States. Infantino said he also met with the national team's coach and players, insisting, quotes, everything is fine. Really? Yeah. That seems to be a bit of a generalisation. But anyway, if everything's fine, everything's fine. Having said that, before the game with Costa Rica, the Iranian players on the pitch held up pictures of children allegedly killed in the US and Israeli strikes. Players, coaches, even federation officials posed with images as they lined up for the national anthems. So if you're watching on YouTube at the moment, you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. Similar scenes took place on Friday when the team wore black armbands and they posed with school rucksacks for victims of the same strike on a primary school. Now, FIFA's rules, remember, prohibit political, religious or personal slogans, statements or images on players' equipment, including jerseys, base layers and armbands during official matches. Simon, they are not going to be able, even if they wanted to shut down any Iranian protests once we're out in the US, are they? If the Iranians want to do this and shout from the heavens about the airstrikes in their own country, whilst they are standing on US soil, they're going to do it.
Well,
and some would say they're quite right to.
Well, I mean, my thought where we're going to go this subject was about the likelihood for the Americans to suggest that the Iranians could play in this competition, because we've seen Trump make a statement saying that you can play, of course you're welcome, but I don't think you should. And I always felt that ultimately this war on Iran wasn't against the people of Iran, it was against the regime of Iran. So without wanting to make it political, allowing the Iranian team to play in the World Cup and making it about the people of Iran being liberated from an awful regime, which is what Trump's shtick is, would have incorporated them having a football team playing in the World Cup, would have played into that sort of narrative.
I know it's all about the Iranian regime, but that in itself is political.
It is, but what I'm saying is, I'm trying to explain the backdrop of the journey this has been on in terms of where I thought this conversation might go, in terms of there was a potential conversation about Iran playing in this World Cup and the sense of that.
Yeah.
It's like Ukraine playing in the Russian World Cup, wasn't it, to some extent? There would have been very difficult moments to suggest that if the Ukraine had qualified for the 2018 World Cup and Russia had invaded Ukraine back in there, what we were talking about there. So in this situation, they've got to get hold of it. And they will get hold of it, FIFA, because the idea that you're going to create a narrative, I understand why the players will think they're entitled to do it, but they're on a football field and they're there to play football. And I know that you made the point, and you'll feel your own reasons for making that point, that it's their right to do that on a football field. It's their right to do as many interviews as they want off the football field. It's their right to express their views as much as they possibly can off the football field. It's not necessarily their right on the football field to carry on imagery and iconography of terrible tragedies that we are privy to, or supposedly privy to, because some of the propaganda that gets put out in certain situations. I mean, they always say the first casualty of war is truth, don't they? So we have to take some of the things that we see without in any shape or form diminishing the notion that is an awful tragedy when children and civilians are being bombed by the nature of war. But war is an ugly business.
Yeah.
And it comes with that sort of casualty. And so in Germany, when the Germans went off at the mouth, didn't they, about their views on things in Qatar, they were shut down, weren't they?
Pretty much.
And they were shut down by the authorities. And the same will happen here, because there's no way FIFA are going to allow the Iranians to stage their vote.
You don't think?
No, I don't think so. I think they'll.
But the Iranians will feel emboldened to do it because of where they are.
But the question is,
they're in the USA.
But the question is, what are FIFA going to do about it when it happens? It's not about whether they do it or not, right? FIFA will be encouraging them not to do it. And if they do it, what will happen if they do it? That's the question. And that's the answer that's the question that needs to be put.
I mean, to find them would look ridiculous.
But to boot them out is what potentially might happen.
But one other significant aspect of this, Simon, is it's not the players who stood there the other night before the Costa Rica match with these images of the young children who lost their lives, and they've gone against the wishes of those above them, the players. It's nothing like that. It's players, coaches, federation officials.
Well, they will have done.
Posed with those images as well.
Yeah, because, I mean, yes, I hear you, because they may well be actors on behalf of the existing regime and may be supporters of it. And we are, without delving deep into the politics of why this war is occurring, if you want to believe what Trump says, it's regime change. And the war is not against the Iranian people. And the fact that this particular extension of Iran, which is a football team and its federation and governing bodies, is aligning itself to some extent, not really at the same time, because they're aligning themselves with the human casualties. That's what they're aligning themselves with. That's what their argument will be. And I understand that. But we have to step back from the awfulness of it all and say, war is ugly. War is evil. It creates the most awful outcomes for the recipients of a scenario. My view is that the Iranian regime, without getting into politics, needed to be dealt with. But the end casualty is who in their right minds want to see children blown to smithereens.
Well, this is it.
But it's a football. The Iranians, with due respect, they can gain and garner as much attention as they want off the field. They can go and do as many interviews as they want, press.
I agree, but nothing would make more of an impact than this.
But that's
before a game on American soil, and they reveal images like that. They're scheduled to play New Zealand in LA, and then Belgium in Los Angeles, and Egypt in Seattle.
But the interesting thing for me is the fact they've done it now, in advance of of where they would really want to do it, because you don't really want to do it against Costa Rica, do you? You want to do it when you're on American soil.
Absolutely.
And the fact that you've done it now is giving people a pre-warning of what you're prepared to do. So there'll be scrambling endeavours to concentrate the minds of the Iranians that they cannot do this. They will not be permitted to do it. And if they do it, there'll be consequences.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see how much substance Infantino's got. Now, there'll be lots of people, and I understand that will be saying they should be doing it. I'm not suggesting that they're not necessarily right, because the human casualties are so tragic. But there is also other places to do it. And if we want to turn football into a landscape for every political cause, good and bad, we can do that. But then we will lose sport.
No, but
we'll lose it all the more.
Will you? It resonates for years to come. Look at Tommy Smith.
Yeah, what, in 1968?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
The Black Power salute with the black gloves on. Still, the images are shown today.
But it didn't. It didn't. It resonated with the media cycle, because it's this iconic imagery of the oppression of black people and the idea. But then 30 years later, you've got Colin Kaepernick suggesting he has got to do the same thing at a football stadium to get the same sort of attraction. You can go back to the 1938 Olympics and what Hitler and his motley little crew leveraged the Olympics to be, 1936 Olympics, and turned that into. We don't really want to encourage the idea that football and sport can be leveraged. Now, I know it is, and I know it will be, and I know that it's going to be. But if we can narrow the parameters where it is, then it will be better for sport.
Infantino, Simon, says, I've spoken to the Iranian players and the coach. Everything's fine. Do you think he believes that?
Well, he's going to... I want him to be caught in the crosshairs, because he's a sycophant and he's a politician. He runs with the hare and hunts with the hounds. Despite my defence of the ticketing pricing the other day, which really wasn't a defence, it was an explanation as to the reasons why they might be charging ticket prices at the level that they've got. And then we obviously discussed Infantino's salary and the influence and power that he has. Let's put him in the crosshairs, because he has told people, once he runs with the hare and he hunts with the hounds. He ran with the idea that people should be banned a few years ago. He's changed his mind now because the landscape has changed slightly. And he's on different tectonic plates. So now he's saying that they're not going to ban people from sport anymore. But he's also suggesting that they shouldn't be making gestures. He went after the gestures in Qatar because it suited him. Because it suited him and his own motivations, given the nature of the relationship he had with the Qataris, with due respect to him. And now he's got a different set of scenarios where you've now got not just a community wanting to talk about One Love armbands. You've got people showing pictures of the most hideous events on a football field, which will overlay and exceed the actual football. itself.
Those hideous events happening in their country, and they are standing in their eyes on the soil of the aggressor.
So what's he going to do?
What's he going to do before the New Zealand game?
If they do
if the Iranians come out with that, he's going to have Trump in his right ear, isn't he?
What's he going to do? I mean, what is he going to do? It depends. I mean, but the interesting question for me in all of this is not what we think, is that someone's going to have to ask Infantino, what are you going to do? And his answer will be, well, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, or we won't have to deal with that. And they've assured me that it won't be the case, right? They will give you some bat-off answer. But the reality is, it'll be fascinating to see if they do this, what the response will be.
Yeah. The World Cup, every day it gets closer. We're getting closer to the boxing hour as we're coming up to 12 noon.
I don't know if you saw the Italy penalties last night. Absolutely,
I did.
I didn't.
Woeful. But the atmosphere in Zenica in Bosnia, I mean, they had guys with flares in the high-rise buildings next to the stadium. I mean, they gave those Italians a tough night.
Okay, Nick, look, it's easy sitting here, right, taking penalties. Been there, Ali's done it as well. But when you see the Italian penalties, and two of them, one's blasted over the bar and one
Yeah.
hits the bar.
Yeah.
You know, surely if you're going to go hard, keep it low. You've got to go low. You know, you're not playing rugby.
I know.
You're not blasting it as high as you can.
Well, we saw Brennan Johnson for Wales as well do a similar thing. But one of the Bosnian players stuck his penalty in the top corner. It was absolutely perfect. So if it comes off, it's the best place to go.
Yeah, there's very few that can do that.
Absolutely.
Okay, in that moment. Would you, Al, be confident?
No, I used to just whip them back across myself.
Low and hard.
Yeah.
Low and hard was
whip them back across. You take the chance. If you lift it, it looks great. It goes in, but if it doesn't,
yeah.
Also, we're not going to see world-class keeper like Donnarumma. Still hasn't been to a World Cup, and he's been in that Italy side for a long time.
Unbelievable.
Do you know what? Mad stuff comes out when things like this happen, and you then go, Donnarumma is not going to go to a World Cup. And Ali says, that's the third World Cup in a row they've missed. How mad!
And they've won a Euros in between.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's not as if they've had a bad team. They've won a Euros in between.
That's mad, isn't it?
It's unbelievable. I think it's remarkable.
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van Range. Commercial vehicles that go the distance for your business. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
Very good afternoon. Here are your sports headlines. talkSPORT's Gabby Agbonlahor expects Alexander Isak to get straight back into Liverpool's 11 when he's fully fit. Gab can see Slot going with a 3-5-2.
Frimpong and Kirkers as wing-backs. Yeah. They've got is it Leone, the centre-half, will be back, hopefully.
The French lads.
Yes, maybe bring in another centre-half, the three in the middle, and Ekatike and Isak as two centre-forward.
Isak's expected on the bench for Liverpool's FA Cup quarter with Man City, live on talkSPORT this Saturday lunchtime. Meanwhile, after Phil Foden's warning from Thomas Tuchel that his World Cup place is not guaranteed, Ali McCoy doesn't think Foden will get enough game time to play his way back into England contention. Man United will face rivals Leeds in a pre-season friendly in Dublin. They're playing at the 82,000-seater Croke Park in August. Tiger Woods has been allowed to leave the US for medical treatment following his arrest on suspicion of driving under the influence. Woods is stepping back from golf to focus on his health and will not captain the US team at next year's Ryder Cup. Full-time major winner Dame Laura Davies has questioned why her hero has to keep driving.
That's the only thing I'd question, but the pain side of it, I cannot even imagine the pain the man's in. So I'm so pleased to hear that. Sounds like he's really addressing it now, and he's going to go away for a while, and he's going to get things sorted.
And Tony Bellew's told us the perfect next fight for Moses Itauma as he tunes up for the world title is Andy Ruiz.
Purely based on the fact that he's the one who's durable, but he throws hard punches back, and we've seen he can throw a shock punch in now every now and again, as we've seen with the Josh fight.
There's more on Itauma's incredible rise on talkSPORT's boxing YouTube channel.
talkSPORT News.
There are questions about what the BBC knew about the police investigation involving Scott Mills in 2016, and the 4 astronauts who've blasted off towards the moon are said to be doing well. Emma has more on that at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. With over 600 centres across the UK, most of which open 7 days a week, we're always there when you need us. QuickFit. Drive away happy every time.
Drizzle clearing in the southeast this afternoon, mostly dry elsewhere with sunny spells, cloud and rain spreading to the northwest later. Average temperatures.
It is that time, Thursday lunchtime, 12 noon. We talk boxing in the company of Mr. Jordan and the one and the only Spencer Oliver, whose Uncle John is going to be stopping by later on this hour to see us.
He is, yeah. Looking forward to it, actually. He's here, he's in the green room, chilling out. He's put his suit on for the occasion.
I said to him he didn't have to go that far, but he stuck the suit on.
Does he like you? Are you like a favourite nephew of his?
He's brought his WBC Medal of Honour in as well. So, yeah, plenty of stories about Anthony Joshua and obviously Derek Chisora, who's fighting this Saturday.
Yeah, well, it's not like me bringing in one of my uncles. In fact, I don't think I've got any because of the age I've got to. But it's because Uncle John has played his part in the world of boxing in more than a small way. And, of course, he was Derek Chisora's first ever boxing trainer. So we're looking forward to Spencer's uncle joining us in the studio. For the meantime, you'll just have to make do with us.
Big fight build-up on talkSPORT with DAZN. Watch Derek Chisora versus Deontay Wilder this Saturday, only on DAZN. Buy now at DAZN.com.
Wicked Uncle
And of course, this upcoming weekend, we have Derek Chisora in fight number 50 going in against Deontay Wilder. Fight number 50, and we eagerly look forward to it. Spencer and Gareth A. Davis have been in conversation with one Deontay Wilder. We decided to keep Simon out of this one.
Riveting.
And this was Wilder in conversation with these two.
Yeah, most definitely. I'm looking forward to it. You know, it's been a long time coming. For me, feeling as the healed version, I would say, of myself, you know, and what better opponent to have than Derek Chisora, and the location to be here in London for our both 50th fights, you know. So it's amazing to be able to share the ring with both 50th fights.
Deontay, you seem to have your fight head on now, but last time we see you was much more relaxed, but you seem focused and ready for this challenge. Now, you've said to Derek Chisora in this one, you want him to kill you in there. You're saying that gets you in that frame of mind. Is that what gets you going?
Most definitely. I mean, this is the business that we're in. We're in the hurt business. You know, Derek once said that boxing is not dangerous. And, you know, I disagree with him. Boxing is very dangerous. Over 13 fighter dies a year. You know, only not even half. We're going to do each other. So this is a very dangerous business, and but we love it. We love what we do. We're warriors. You have to have that warrior mentality, that warrior mindset, and we both have that.
London, the UK, is a happy hunting ground. Everyone treats you like a rock star here. I know you're very celebrated here. Should you come over as victorious on Saturday night, are you interested in making that fight happen with Anthony Joshua that we've never seen yet?
I mean, with any heavyweight that's in the division, you know, if I'm here to fight them all. The heavyweight division is very small. I don't know how much people realize that, but the heavyweight division is very small. We all can fight each other 3, 4, 5 times, you know. And if he's still around, I'm still around, why not? You know, I've always wanted that fight, and we'll see what happens. You know, right now is all about Derek Chisora.
So Spencer in studio with Simon and myself. Spencer, in conversation with Wilder, 50 and out for him, 50 and out for Chisora. What we're going to see, is it going to be an explosive end to their careers or a sad, whimpering exit?
Well, I think it's 50 and out for Derek Chisora. That's what he's been talking about. He's been quite emotional about that in the build-up to this one as well, saying this is the last time you'll see me in the ring. Though? Well, if he wins, is it? That's the question. Yeah. Is it? Because the carrot that will be dangled will be too big a temptation. And we know how much Derek loves the game. But for Deontay Wilder, he says, no, this is not 50 and out. I know where I want to go. I want that Anthony Joshua fight. I want to become world champion again. This is just another stepping stone. And Derek Chisora is the guy that will bring that out of me and let me see if I still belong at this stage.
If Wilder loses it, though, Simon, that would be it, wouldn't it? If Wilder loses, there's no one left, and he presumably would have very little left.
I think he said that, hasn't he? He said that if he loses, that's the end.
Yeah, he said that he doesn't.
They say it, but do they mean it?
He doesn't think about losing. He said it's not 50 and out for me because I win this one, and this tells me what I've got left in the game, and I go on, kick on, and I want the Anthony Joshua fight. He's been very vocal about that. Derek Chisora's the one who's played it smart, really. Psychologically, you think that he's put the pressure on Deontay Wilder because he's saying, I'm done, 50 and out, no pressure on me. This is my last fight, last roll of the dice, and let's see where it takes us.
I mean, might it become a battle to see who is the less shot fighter?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, look, I think they're both past their best for sure. Derek Chisora's in a much better place than Deontay Wilder, going off Deontay Wilder's recent form. You know, the loss to Joseph Parker was a bad one, and the knockout against Zhele Zhang was even worse. You know, he took a bit of time out. He's come back and had a win against Tyrell Herndon since then, a 7th-round KO, but hasn't looked near his best. He says that's because of the betrayal that went on outside of the ring, the personal problems that affected him inside the ring. He said you'll see the old Deontay Wilder, the bronze bomber. Derek Chisora is like a fine wine, isn't he? He seems to be getting better with age. He's like 42 years of age now. Yeah. He's on a run of wins, you know, Joe Joyce, Otto Wallin. You go, they're good wins. So he's put himself in that position, IBF #1. So, you know, he's earned that right. Derek Chisora is in a better place than Deontay right now. I can't believe I'm saying that.
I'm just lost of remarking and Spencer's sort of understanding of fine wines, given the fact he's a blue non-drinker.
That is a fine wine, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. In Hertfordshire, yeah.
Lambrisco, that's another one, isn't it?
That used to be a favourite of mine in years gone by. I remember the Deontay Wilder, Spencer, I think you were around that day, who came into this very building back in 2019. And he virtually stopped the place in its tracks. There were about 50 people outside the lift there. And we're on the 17th floor of the news building, as I constantly say. Wilder arrived and he bowled everybody over. He was magnificent. He was even better when he was on air. And this was after the first fight with Fury, which they'd drawn.
I'm a warrior. You know, most of us had that mentality that we are die in the ring for this. Boxing is a 365, 24/7, all the way around. It don't stop. Boxing is a year-round sport. It doesn't stop. So with that being said, it gravitates to your body, your spirit, your soul. You know, that's why most fighters, they don't know when to get out of his sport, because the love of it just sucks you in. You know you need to go, but it keeps you in, and that's the thing about it. You know, we stay in there. We the one, like I always say, man, I was like, we all got some type of mental illness because we fighting each other. We the one putting on these gloves and taking these punches and blows for others' entertainment, and that's why I say it all the time. Although I do get in the form of the bronze bomber, it's so real. I can't express it. People just have to understand that, learn that, and grow with me and love me and accept me for who I am. I have two different personalities. The way I feel, that person is scary. He's dangerous. The way I feel is nothing good. And here we go, baby. Y'all ready? 1, 2, 3, Bomb Squad!
I remember that moment. He blew our ears out that day. He was a different man then. If Bomb Squad was the previous alter ego, if you like, what version of Wilder do we witness now?
He says that he's bringing that version back. He was doing that actually last night at the open workouts. He was in great shape, to be fair, and he's a brilliant talker. But, you know, talk is cheap, money builds houses, and we'll have to see if this guy can deliver in the ring. He's saying that all these personal problems are now behind him, and you'll see that in his performance in the ring. He recognises that Derek may be the guy that will test him, bring that out of him, because Derek's a guy that will stand in front of you and he'll just keep coming. It's a great fight for all those reasons. But Deontay Wilder, recent form, you just go, he's not looked nearly the fighter he once was.
No.
So it's going to be very difficult to find that guy.
I agree with you, Spencer. I mean, 7 years on, Simon, I look at Wilder in conversation with Gareth and Spencer. You saw the footage. If you were watching on YouTube there, you would see him when he came into this building in a white Rolls Royce, and thereafter was being lauded and applauded by everybody, and he was lapping it up, and he spoke brilliantly on that day.
Yeah.
He seems a shell of the man that came in that day.
Deontay Wilder BC, as he would describe, before cheating, before he's been cheated and he's gotten beaten. So he doesn't know what defeat looks like. And obviously the defeats that he's had against Tyson Fury have left a lasting scar on him in terms of what they took out of him as a fighter, what they've taken out of him psychologically. What you saw there was a charismatic superstar athlete that might have had his limitations as a boxer, but was flying at that particular time in terms of cradled in the imagery of the bronze bomber and the most feared heavyweight around, and a superstar in the way that he presented himself. That's not what you've got now. What you've got now is a different animal that's had different experiences, and maybe outside the ring they've impacted upon him. But what I experienced was very different to what I anticipated I would experience. I thought I was going to get the Deontay Wilder that came in the studio with you.
Yeah.
I didn't think I was going to get someone that was race baiting and just generally taking the conversation off in a completely different direction. His big thing is he's gotten beat and he can't cope with the defeats.
Yeah.
He can't. At that point, he'd had a draw against Tyson Fury, so he wasn't carrying around everything about Deontay Wilder, and he has done some remarkable things. And the life that he's led, and the challenges that he's had and the circumstances in which he's had children brought up in and the difficulties he's had with there, you've got to give him all of the commendations that he deserves for that. But on a personality level, you know, he is not the same charismatic, energetic, vital man that came in and sat with you. That's a different animal.
Far from it, Simon.
And he's going to get beat on Saturday. And if you're asking what he is, bomb squad, no, this is wet fart. He's going to get knocked out.
I'd love to see him sit back and shout that out. Chisora Wilder, you can see it with DAZN. And don't forget, you can watch it live this Saturday, only on DAZN. Buy now at DAZN.com.
Big fight build-up on talkSPORT with DAZN. Watch Derek Chisora versus Deontay Wilder this Saturday, only on DAZN. Buy now at DAZN.com.
Tottenham Hotspur have appointed Roberto De Zerbi as their new head coach. It is a 5-year deal. De Zerbi will become one of the best paid coaches in the Premier League, and he will receive a huge survival bonus if he keeps them up. Spurs were reluctant to include any relegation clause in De Zerbi's contract, in part because of the message it would send to the players. So there ain't no clause in there. His first game in charge will be away to Sunderland on April the 12th. Thereafter, at home to Brighton, away to Wolves and Villa, at home to Leeds, away to Chelsea, and at home to Everton. And the sporting director, Johan Lang, says De Zerbi was always the club's first choice. Simon, we've spoken about this, and now it's happened. Is this going to be a match made in heaven or hell?
Well, I mean, ultimately, for Spurs, if they avoid relegation, as a result of the decisions that he makes, initially it'll be a match made in heaven. I mean, I judge him by his conduct in previous instances, and I always make the observation that if someone shows you what they are, believe them. But also, people are capable of revisiting things, changing the way they operate, and learning from their experiences. And that's the reasons why my attitude has adjusted towards Marcus Silva, because new information determines that. So my bias towards De Zerbi is not about his football coaching prowess, because we know he's a good, decent coach. Is he elite? No, I don't think he is. But is he a good one? Yeah. Is he better than Tudor? Yes. Is he worthy of being paid the third highest manager in the Premier League? Of course he's not. But Spurs have been bent over because they put themselves in a situation where they've got no choice to be able to go around and go, we got so desperate now, we'll pay anybody anything that looks like, you know, if you can go into a desert and convince us that sand is water, we'll drink it, because we're in a situation where we're so desperate.
It is Thursday lunchtime, 12:20. We're talking boxing. Jim White, Simon Jordan, and Spencer Oliver. And we're talking Chisora against Wilder this weekend. That and a bunch of other things. Let's hope that top boxing promoter Frank Warren, who I hear is out and about, no doubt in some limousine in London, is going to join us live. Frank, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Jim. Good afternoon, Simon.
Hello, Frank. Where are you off to? Scots?
Sorry?
Where are you off to? Scots or somewhere like that?
Chiconies.
Chiconies, very nice.
I see.
Business. Back to my office.
Very nice.
Frank, good to see you, and thanks for joining us on the show. Spencer's alongside us. Chisora Wilder, what are your thoughts?
It's a fight with two veterans. It'll be entertaining whilst it lasts because they're both older fighters. They're not the fighters they were, so they won't be able to get out of the way. And I think as soon as that bell goes, they're going to just start throwing shots, and whoever connects first, I think will win the fight. I hope Derek Chisora retires after this fight, win or lose, and the same with Deontay. This is this is a last hurrah for them, so hopefully they come out the ring safe, to both of them, and they'll make a few quid, and I think they should call it a day after that.
This is the problem, Frank, isn't it? Because Derek Chisora, who's now 42 years of age, Deontay Wilder's now 40 years of age, and it's a fitting fight for both of these guys because of where they're at in their careers, and you go, that okay, you can understand that. But for the winner, the carrot that's going to be dangled in front of him is surely going to be too much of a temptation for two guys who seem to be struggling with the fact of retirement.
I agree with part of what you say there, Spence. But and good morning to you, by the way. And but the thing is, look, fighters, contrary to what everybody thinks, somebody should tell them to retire. They know before anybody else what they've got left in the tank, and some stay there because there's always another payday. There's always another payday, and I hope that people. I just hope that whatever happens, that, as I say, they come out safe and that's it. But if they're going to carry on, as long as they're fit and well and mentally aware of the consequences, that's their choice. You're asking me what I think. I think that after this fight, they both should retire.
But if Derek were to knock Deontay Wilder out in quick style, and he came to you and said, "Frank, promote me for a big fight, get me a big shot at something or another," would you do it?
Would I do it?
Yeah. Yeah,
well, if he's going to fight and he's ranked number one and I want one of my fighters to get that spot, then I'd say fight him and get the IBF number one spot. Of course I would.
Frank, somebody else who's written big headlines this week is Moses Atoma, and Francis manages Moses. He became the first fighter to stop Jermain Franklin knocking him out in the 5th round. It was spectacular. Is it nigh on impossible, Frank, to keep a lid on the hype surrounding Moses at the moment?
No, it's not. And the Zone had a massive rating for the fight. I think it's their highest rating this year for it, so I'm told. So, he's people are well aware of who he is and what a talent he is, and he showed that certainly on Saturday. It was a very mature, performance with a very durable, tough guy, and he'd done a job. He'd done a magnificent job, and look, that's the future of boxing. He's the future of heavyweight boxing. And I'd have no problem tomorrow making him with Mr. Usyk. I'd make it in a heartbeat tomorrow.
Question, Frank, for you. I mean, we had the other day on Talk Boxing, Nikisa Badarian, who I know you'll know, and he talked about, and you don't need to be taught how to manage and match fights, right? That's not what I'm making the point here. I'm sort of sense-checking what he said. His attitude was, if he was managing Atoma, it'd stick him in with Andy Ruiz in Madison Square Garden because it gives an opportunity, A, to put him in against another decent fighter to give him another learning curve, but also breaks him into America by doing something Anthony Joshua couldn't do, which is knocking out American heavyweight that has some repute. Is that got some sense in that thinking?
Sorry, who was it who said that?
Nikisa Badarian, Jake Paul's promoter. And
Nikita's a very good promoter, and he knows what he's doing. We will be going to America. That's obvious. That will happen this year, and who the opponent is, we'll see. If it's Ruiz or any, I haven't got a problem with him fighting any American fighter at all, and he will take America by storm. I've had lots and lots of calls from people who watched the fight, people who are respecting the business, who were, praising him and saying some some really good things about him, and he's as I say, he's an unbelievable talent. And when you consider he's just turned 21 a few months ago, it's unbelievable. And as I say, he has at the moment, he has this division. He can go and fight anyone in this division, I do believe, and I think he can beat any of them.
Well, he's sort of in that position, Frank, isn't he? With being WBA number one, WBO number one, highly ranked with all the other governing bodies, you find yourself, these titles do fragment because we don't know what Alexander Usyk's going to do with those, and they will become vacant, some of these titles. It could be a world title, possibly even next. Me and Simon were talking about Frank Sanchez, obviously being a possible opponent as well. Would you put him in for a world title if that opportunity come up next?
Well, I think the WBO are going to order him to fight, to be their mandatory.
I think he's just been mandatory, isn't he?
Yeah, but I think they will order a mandatory soon because I think that's due. Then you've got as you say, you've got the WBA. There are many options, and as for Alexander, he says he doesn't want to fight him, and I get that, and I hear all the reasons what he said. But the bottom line of it is that would sell out Wembley 4 times over. If I announce that fight tomorrow, you'd be a queue of 400,000 people trying to get tickets online.
How are you going to square the circle, Frank? If he's the mandatory for the WBO and that comes up next, and it's still Fabio Wardley, how do you square that circle? Because Fabio's pretty much said the other day, I found it strange that Fabio was on the show to some extent because he was put questions about how wonderful Moses was. Well, he's the incumbent heavyweight champ, but he was there and he was asked about this, and his attitude was, he's a stablemate. I don't see me fighting Moses anytime in my near future, and the only time I would fight him is if I've got 2 belts and he's got 2 belts. How do you square that circle if that's the situation?
It's not for me to square, Simon. If it's ordered, it's up to the boxers to make their decision. I haven't got to square it. You either fight or you don't. And the governing body will say this is what will happen if you don't fight, whether it be the WBA, WBC, whatever it may be. If you don't adhere by it, then you have to vacate. That's what he did, Usyk. Excuse me, rather than fight Fabio.
Unless you can reposition Moses in a different direction, because ultimately you've got divided loyalties, haven't you? You want both these boys to progress their careers, both of them to be world champions. So it might be better if Moses could fight for another belt, and somewhere down the line the collision of 2 British heavyweights, rather than one taking the belt from the other.
I think the problem we have is Ben Davison trains both of these guys in the same gym, and that's where the problem lies. That's where the deeper problem
Ben would be a very busy boy that night. 1 week away, Frank, from Tyson Fury's return against Makhmudov. How are the tickets selling? I've heard reports that, they're not shifting that quickly, Mr. Warren.
I wouldn't know. I'm not the promoter.
Shut you up, innit?
You're promoting Fury.
Yeah. What's that got to do anything?
It's not his event.
Well, you're promoting Tyson. So, I mean, it's not as if you're hands-free on the night.
I'm only interested in Tyson being 100% getting into the ring and winning the fight. It's not my promotion. That's not my job.
But you'd expect it, would you not, to be in front of a full house?
Yeah, I mean, listen, every time Tyson's fought and we've been involved, that's what's happened.
I mean, Frank, you will have that information. And how's he been looking, Tyson, in the build-up to this one? He's going in, he's had that long layoff. Is he back to top form?
I'll tell you what, the reports are, and I'm going to see him tomorrow, but the reports are that he's in magnificent shape. A couple of conversations I've had with him whilst he's been training, he's so buoyant. Apparently he's not suffering from any of the couple of injuries he was suffering from going into previous fights, elbows and so forth. He's 100%, and mentally he's so on it. So we will see. I expect a brilliant performance from him.
And it's quite an undercard. Conor Benn, Regis Prograis, Jamie TKV, Richard Rapport, Fraser Clark, Justice Huni. We're about to speak to Justice Huni. Frank, to finish with, I mean, do you worry about the prying eyes in the wings might be viewing some of your heavyweight jewels? I mean, boxers being pinched these days from promoter to promoter. That's not uncommon, isn't it?
Well, providing if they're out of contract, it's not a problem. If anyone tries things when they're in contract, they'll have a problem.
Right. So you don't worry about Zuffa on the horizon?
Do I worry about Zuffa? I don't worry about anybody. Why would I worry about them? I mean, you broadcast our last 3 shows. all sellouts. We sell out stadiums, arenas. Last Saturday, Moses sold out. Dublin, a couple of weeks before, sold out. You were there, Spencer. Germany, what was that atmosphere like in Germany?
Yeah, listen.
Sold out. But sold out in what? In a day that was sold out, and we got quite a few shows coming up that are nigh on sold out and will be by the time run. I've never worried about anybody.
How are you getting on? How are you getting on with your ongoing battle with Turkey?
How am I getting on with what?
How are you getting on with your ongoing battle with Turkey and TKO about some of the things?
Battle with him.
They said unpleasant things about you, Mr. Warren, and your credibility.
Is he really?
You know he did. He talked about the financial viability of Queensbury and started making Ring Magazine. It was Ring Magazine, which is Turkey.
It was, yeah, okay. That's Ring. Well, their Ring Magazine are a promoter as well, so
which he owns.
Say things, don't they? But
so is it all nice again?
If anybody's worried about our financial viability, go to the company's house and it'll tell you what type of company Queensbury is. And look at our roster of fighters, and I'm not going to repeat all what I just said to you. They're sold-out shows. Sold out means all the tickets have been paid for and sold out.
I think life is good for you, Mr. Warren. You're not sitting in a bashed-up old mini.
Jim, and it's getting better and better. And I'll tell you something. We are promoting, and we are involved, and we've been guiding since he was very young, Moses' career. And he is at this moment the hottest fighter, not prospect, hottest fighter in the world.
Excellent. Frank, thanks for joining us. Frank Warren with us live this lunchtime. And clearly, life is good. Tuchel was asked about Arsenal's 10 international withdrawals, including Rice and Saka. He admitted he understood the look of it, unquote, but defended his England duo over their injury issues, revealing Rice has been playing, quotes, at 70% for some time because of his continued discomfort. Tuchel says everyone can do the math, and it's a lot of players, of course, and during this situation, it looks a bit suspicious. He says, I understand the look of it. I still have 100% trust in the honesty of Saka and Declan. We did medical tests. I saw them. I've no reason to believe that Declan is not honest with me. I've no reason to believe Bukayo is not honest. Asked specifically which injury Rice was nursing, Tuchel said, I'm not sure if I want to give it away. I think Arsenal wouldn't be happy if I gave it away. But he feels a discomfort for a while. He's playing through it. Tuchel said it was up to Arsenal, Danny, to decide for themselves how much risk they're taking by playing Rice. And he added, I'm not willing to take this risk for my key player. I mean, at the business end of the season, and this is where we're at, do these situations call for a common sense approach from international managers like Tuchel?
Yeah, common sense sounds, I think it makes absolute sense that if he's got one of his best players saying they're not quite fully fit, go and rest up, go back to your club. I think that's he's looking after himself, he's looking after his squad, he's doing the right thing by the player.
Thomas Tuchel is warning Phil Foden he's not guaranteed a World Cup spot. Well, Gabby Agbonlahor says the German clearly likes Foden, but he simply hasn't performed in matches.
You look like, at the moment, it sounds like a training ground player. Yeah. Which is what you never want to be associated with. I had loads of players, Ali, that I won't name names, but they're training ground players who turn up and they're the best player and they start and then they go missing.
Meanwhile, we're told Lionel Messi will probably play for Argentina this summer, but now aged 38 may not do himself justice. South American football expert Tim Vickery says Messi needs Julian Alvarez to shine.
He's so versatile, he's got so much lung power, he's so talented and intelligent that you take Julian Alvarez away and Messi starts to look 38 going on 39.
Chelsea boss Sonia Bonpastor is demanding more respect for her players after Arsenal knocked them out of the Champions League. Bonpastor lost it at the officials after Katie McCabe escaped a sending off for pulling Alyssa Thompson's hair.
What is the VAR doing in these games?
Well, McCabe says she was reaching for Thompson's shirt, not her hair. And Tiger Woods has turned down the chance to captain Team USA at next year's Ryder Cup as he takes a break from golf to focus on his health.
Just gone 12:30. Thanks to Frank Warren for joining us from his limo as he's being driven around London at this Thursday lunchtime. It's Jim White, Simon Jordan and Spencer Oliver, soon to be joined by Spencer's uncle. That's going to happen around 12:45 for a very special reason, with Chisora Wilder very much in mind, with Tyson Fury, Makhmudov very much in mind on April the 11th. Quite a few fights in the undercard really catch the eye. Of course, Conor Benn, Regis Prograis being one. Fraser Clark, Justice Huni being another. And I'm delighted to say the Australian heavyweight boxer Justice Huni joins us live on the show. Justice, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon. It's good to be back.
Delighted you are back. So I presume you're speaking to us here in the UK. You're in London, are you?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Great. You're most welcome. It makes me think immediately to talk to you about a very brave fight on your part, which sadly for you ended in defeat. And you know where I'm going with this. It was the fight against Fabio Wardley at Portman Road. And you were flying in that fight. I think Simon was there on the night, so was Spencer. But then you walked into a flurry from Fabio Wardley, and just when it looked like you were going to win it, you lost it. It must have been so frustrating for you that night.
Look, it is what it is. You know, that's heavyweight boxing. I came over here and gave it my best shot, and you know, I was happy with the way I performed, but that's all it took was one punch, and it changed the outcome. So it was back to the drawing board, and fortunately, we've been given another opportunity to come back over here and fight on the big stage again.
Justice, what did you put that down to there? Just really inexperience. It was like you had such a lead there. We were there that night, and you know we were thinking it was only a matter of time before Fabio Wardley cracks, and he comes apart, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he lands that right hand. And do you put that down to a lapse of concentration and inexperience?
Look, I probably could have just moved around and stayed out long for the rest of the rounds that we had left. But look, I couldn't have predicted it. It was a good shot, and he deserved to, you know, win. All it takes is one punch, and you know, the whole lead up to that fight, that's what he was talking about, and that's just the way it went, mate.
I mean, Justice, I was
no other way to explain it.
I was at the fight, Justice, and I think it's fair to say you boxed his head off for predominantly majority of the rounds. Why have you been inactive for 10 months? Why you haven't fought since June? You're coming back in against Fraser Clark. You'll have seen what happened to Fraser Clark in his last fight. But why the 10-month absence?
Well, I was supposed to fight at the end of last year in December, and then my trainer passed away a few weeks out from
sorry to hear that.
Going into that fight, and I just wasn't in the right headspace. And then made a comeback, got a new trainer now, and I'm in a good place again.
What does Fraser... I mean, you must look at the direction of travel that Fabio's gone on, right? You must look at that and think, as I said, with all due respect to Fraser, you boxed his head off for 10 rounds. You must look at Fabio now, who's now WBA heavyweight champion of the world, fighting Daniel Dubois. Look at that and think, thereby the grace could have been me. What does Fraser Clark represent? We know what it represents to Fraser. He has to rebuild after the TKV loss, after rebuilding after the demolishing that he got at Fabio Wardlow's hand in a second fight. But what does it represent to you, the Fraser Clark fight?
Look, I'm on the same level. Like I'm coming back off a loss as well, to Fabio, and this is make or break for me. I want to put on a good performance, and someone like Fraser Clark is good to showcase who I am and what I've got to offer in the heavyweight division.
Yeah, Fraser Clark's coming off that loss to Jamie TKV, so it's just an opportunity for both of you guys here. And the heavyweight landscape at the moment is you're only one win away from putting yourself right back in the mix, and you will both see that as a huge opportunity, this one, for both of you guys.
Yeah, 100%. This is massive for both of us. This is the fight to put us back in the mix, and I think we'll both be looking to come to win, and hopefully do it in exciting fashion.
Can I ask you an impertinent question? Where are we with the power side of things with you, Justice? Because one of the things I observed on was that if you'd have had a bit more power in against Fabio Wardley, you'd have been able to perhaps put that fight to bed. And the question is raised that it might be the ideal fight for Fraser to rebuild, because whilst you are a very good fighter, there's an element of doubt about the power that you carry at a certain level. What would you say to that?
I'm not really too worried about that. I guess this fight, we'll see what happens with it, and we'll see if I really have power.
Listen,
I have been working on sitting on my punches more. So, I'm looking to come and get a exciting win in exciting fashion.
What are you facing in Fraser Clark? What sort of problems do you feel that he may present to you?
He's a good boxer. The same as me. He has a good amateur background as well. I just feel I'm the better boxer. That's pretty much how I feel about it. And I've done all the hard work, almost a week out, and I'm ready to go. I can't wait to step back into the arena again and show everyone what I'm made of.
Justice, thank you so much for joining us, mate. Justice Huni with us at this lunchtime, fighting on the undercard against Fraser Clark, of course, when Fury Makhmudov do battle on April the 11th. And tickets for Fury against Makhmudov are still available on Ticketmaster.com.
I wanted to talk about Marc Cucurella, actually, because twice in 2 days he's hit the headlines. He was talking about saying that it would be so difficult to turn down Barcelona if they called, but he's now criticised the sacking of former manager Enzo Maresca and the club's transfer policy. On the sacking, he said, the moment Enzo Maresca left, it had a big impact on us. If you asked me, I would not have made this decision. Not positive if you're Liam Rosenior reading that, is it?
I don't know what's going on at Chelsea, my former club.
There's a few players now, isn't there? Cole Palmer's been linked to a move. We've got Cucurella, obviously Enzo Fernandez with Real Madrid.
Well, let's get it right, okay? And Ali, jump in on this. You've been a manager. One of your Rangers players, is quite vocal about he'd love a move and the previous manager was better than you. How are you going to react to that?
Oh, he's getting the curly finger. Here, come here, you. Office. Oh, he's getting the curly finger. I need a word with you. Sit down there. It's got it.
Wouldn't do it, would you?
No. I think it's disrespectful.
Absolutely.
Right. I think it's disrespectful. I really do. I mean, you don't want the manager coming out and saying, right, I'm going to get rid of him straight away when I come in. That you can't have it that way either. There has to be a mutual respect, right?
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how the questions came about. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
Particularly in international breaks, right?
Yeah, they go away and they
exactly. And he's maybe sat down at a press conference and been talking about the game, and then somebody's went, right, bang, have some of this. And I'm saying they're not smart enough. It is Thursday lunchtime, and that means we're talking boxing. And this weekend, Deontay Wilder and Derek Chisora go head-to-head at the O2 right here in London. It's live in DAZN and live in talkSPORT. This will mark 50 and out, supposedly, for Derek Chisora. But where did it all begin for the likes of Del Boy? Joining us in studio this lunchtime to end this boxing hour is Chisora's first ever boxing trainer at the Finchley Boxing Club here in London, John Oliver, who is the uncle of Spencer Oliver. John, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Great to see you. Thanks for stopping by this afternoon. You boxed, Spencer boxed. Was this sport always in the blood in the Oliver family?
Yeah, the Oliver dream.
Yeah? Why was that? What got you into boxing?
My father boxed before the war. Eventually, after the war, he boxed in fairground booths. I eventually got into boxing because I was getting into trouble with the police, and it saved my life. And eventually, I done well for Finchley Boxing Club, and eventually turned professional with George Francis, the famous George Francis. I had 9 fights, and then for various reasons, they took my licence away. Medical, and eventually I became a coach at Finchley, and I thought, if I can't make it myself and become a champion professionally, I'll make other people become champions, and that's what I done.
What about Spencer? How proud were you of Spencer as a boxer?
To be honest, I never trained Spencer, but I was very, very proud. We went to Canada, me and his dad, to watch him in the Commonwealth Games with Robbie Padden. And I met Robbie Padden years after. And Spencer got the silver and Robbie got the gold. and I tried to pinch it out of his house.
And talking about medals, tell me about the medal you've got around your neck.
That is the World Boxing Council Medal of Honour for indicating what I've done for boxing.
Fantastic. Do you still love the fight game, John, as much as ever? I mean, you're 81 now.
Yeah.
Still means the same to you? Yeah. That's great, John. That's great. What I would say...
Younger.
Sorry?
I wish I was younger.
Oh, mate, you look great. You look great. You certainly look just as healthy as the man you're sitting beside, Simon Jordan. Here's the thing, John. Talk to us about a 19-year-old Derek Chisora who walks into the gym in Finchley. It was his first time in a gym and his first experience of boxing. What do you remember of it?
And I remember everything, right down to the nitty-gritty of it. Because he came in with, if I'm allowed to say that, with somebody else, and I got the gist of what he was doing, and I took him in the office and told him what I expected of him, and we've been friends ever since. Not a crossword at all.
Not a crossword?
No.
So did you realise, John, at some early stage, this guy, Chisora, could be a more than decent fighter?
Not really, no. I just wanted him to do what I was telling him to do, which he did.
Yeah.
If he didn't, he was out the door.
Well done. How did he react to that?
Well, he behaved and he's done what I told him to do. And beyond, as it went on, I thought, well, he's going to be pretty good, this kid.
Well, he's still going because he's fighting Deontay Wilder this weekend.
Yep.
John, here's a nice surprise. Derek Chisora, good afternoon.
Hello, mate. How are you?
We're great. Now, John, if you look to me, we're going to hear Del Boy, who's on the line now. Derek, we've got Spencer's uncle, John Oliver, in studio, as you know. What do you remember about the time you met your first trainer, John?
Johnny boy. I tell you, the funny thing is, God honest truth, he had a shop in Finchley, a charity shop where they used to clear out when, charity stuff. And then I was serving my probation for 3 years. My probation officer goes, I want to introduce you to two brothers. Yeah, so I'm like, okay, fine. We went down the shop, down the road, only about 50 yards. He introduced me to John and Jim Oliver. And he goes, oh, these guys, they run a amateur boxing gym in Finchley, A, B, C, D, whatever. I'm like, okay, fine. They're like, do you want to come? Do you want to try? I'm like, yes. The same day, around 6 o'clock, I went to Finchley on the bus. I got there and I met John again with another guy called Ted, Sean Murphy, different old school fighters, different old school trainers there. And then from then, that was it. That was the love of boxing.
So you fell in love with boxing, Derek, and John here had a huge amount to do with that.
100%. He took me to spar with different professional fighters like Michael Sprott, Danny Williams and stuff like that. It's hard to explain. I mean, like, he took time out of his own schedule to take me in places, And the one thing I want to remind him about is one day he goes to me, I'm gonna pick you up from your house. So we went to Hampstead Heath. Yeah. And we walked around Hampstead Heath, yeah. And then after we finished walking, he goes to me, that's the boxer's run. Yeah. I'm like, yeah. He goes, so you run that run, you come back and you jump in the pond and that's your run down. I'm like, oh. I'm like, nah, I'm not doing that. He goes to me, trust me, this is it, yeah. He goes, everybody's run this run. It's a good run. And I'm like, no, I'm fine. And guess what? Since the day I run that run and I go to the pond.
Magnificent. John, you had quite an influence on Derek.
I think, to be fair, all the trainers at Finchley at that time all had an influence on everybody. Everybody boxing. It wasn't just Derek. It was everybody. And we was all a team. All of us.
John, I think on behalf of us all in studio here, Derek, I'll ask you this. I'm sure John would like to know the answer to the question. Simon and Spencer too.
Simon there.
Simon is right beside me. This is a star-studded studio.
This is the first time I've heard Simon quiet.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. It's not because I'm listening to you, because I'm interested in John.
Derek, this is actually a really poignant and special moment for us all, especially with Spencer's uncle, John, in studio with us. And he clearly holds you in high regard and has known you a lot longer than any of us. If it really is your final fight on Saturday, and you come out victorious or whatever, what happens after that?
What happens after that? I have a fight, guys, but in the ring.
You asked.
Well, I did ask, didn't I? John, how would you feel if your man Derek Chisora emerges victorious, but emerges healthy and fit, which is all important, on Saturday night and says, that's it, 50 and out, and I'm out? How will you feel, John?
Proud. I wouldn't want to see him done. He's done. He's done enough for the sport. He's done enough eventually. That's as good as I'd like to see him. There is a limit, which that says to me, and it's got to be done. Forget how people have boxed, gone too far, got hurt, end up in care homes. We don't need that anymore. We don't need that. I've had that. I don't need that anymore. We want to help our boxers.
You're listening to what John's saying here, Derek?
Yeah, that's why I said 50 and I'm out.
Yeah.
The man of his word.
Derek, you're going to be fighting for yourself, obviously, on Saturday. You're going to be fighting for the likes of John and what he's given you.
No, I'm not fighting for John. I'm fighting for myself. I'm not fighting for John. I'm fighting for myself. John can sit on the ringside and watch it, but I'm fighting for myself.
Quite right. Derek, from us here in studio, good luck against Wilder on Saturday night. I'm going to leave the last word this lunchtime, not as I always do with Simon or Spencer, but with this very special man, John Oliver. John, what do you want to say to Derek as he goes into what appears to be his final fight?
Derek, you're going to win that fight, or you're going to face me.
Something tells me you're on your own on that one, Derek.
No, you're right.
Derek, good luck. Thank you so much for joining us.
No prisoners.
Spencer, brilliant.
No
brilliant
prisoners, no.
No prisoners, says John. Spencer, thanks as always.
Thank you.
Simon, brilliant.
Yeah, well done, Derek.
Take care, mate. I'll speak to you soon. Last word with you. I want to thank you for joining us today,
That's
John.
Fine. That's fine.
It's been wonderful having you here in studio.
Emotional.
That's fine. That's fine by us. Spencer's uncle, John Oliver, with us here in studio. Looks great for 81. Hope I look as good if I get there. It's 1 o'clock.
Not a chance.